Hello and welcome to Team Fortress TV. This is the Season 27 Mid Grand Finals. A very exciting game for sure. We have rudeboys on the block versus Flowllout, or Flow, or however we prefer to say that. But joining me today to bring you all the action, all those frags, we have Gemm on the production and TurboTabs joining me on the mic. How's it going, TurboTabs?
Yeah, it's doing great, man. Very excited to see this, I guess what's going to be the climactic end to the mid-tier.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's I was sorry, I was just kind of shook by, oh, are we starting already? What a transition.
Yeah.
Kind of drop the mic and immediately go into it, but they're just teasing, it seems.
Yeah, we got a bit baited there, but I mean, let's run through these rosters very quickly, because I don't think many people watching will be aware of some of these players. So why don't you take us through Flowllout first?
All right, so we should be having George on Medic. We've got Lil Red Riding Hood on Demoman. Hellblazer will be the Pocket Soldier. AM will be on the Roaming Soldier. And Mars and Bubble will be on the Scout. How about that Rude Boys roster?
For Rude Boys, we have Classy and Copper on the Scouts. Overdose actually murking for Twisty as Roamer, DigiB on the Pocket Soldier, Cecil on the Demoman, and Enzo on Medic as well. So, I mean, have you seen any of these players before? Have you got any sort of expectations, TurboTabs?
Well, the only minor research I did before the cast was a little bit of flicking through the logs. Sadly, I don't really get a chance to see too many people on the pickup games and whatnot. I'm just far too busy running things in the background, so I didn't get a chance to run into any of these in like any pickup games or anything like that. But I know that you're actually a face around the Rude Boy roster. I noticed that you're actually on that roster, so you're probably quite acquainted with these the Rude Boys.
Yeah, I am indeed. I did sub for their team for one week this season, helped them just through to the last week. But I mean, I think these two teams have actually met before. In week 1 of season 27, they actually did face each other, and Rude Boys took that quite convincingly. So I mean, possibly they'll be the favourites for this game. They'll be feeling confident. But who knows? It's been a while since week 1. I mean, if you can cast your mind all the way back, that was a while ago. So who knows what has changed, what has been mixed up since then. So I think we'll have to see. Map 1 should tell us an awful lot. But I mean, we have 12 on the server right now. Possibly we will be going live very shortly. So I mean, can you cobble together a prediction, TurboTabs? Anything you think?
Well, like you said, because of that week 1 loss, it might immediately kind of make it obvious to think that Rude Boys are going to walk away with this, but I think you can learn a lot from just a loss in TF2, especially one that's that far spaced out as well. And also you need to keep in mind that there's also a best of 3 in this mid-tier grand finals, like most of the playoff games you've probably watched in the past. So it's no different for any of these lower tiers here. They're going to still be playing in a best of 3 matchups. So usually you can just stop playing to your cores or your strengths even on the lineup. So who knows? Maybe they just met Rude Boys on a very unfortunate map or set of maps on their first week. So maybe with a little bit more control under their belt and with all that stuff they've learned, I could probably predict that Flowllout will take this.
All right, that's a good prediction. I'm going to go with Rude Boys, my boys on the block for this first map. I'm not sure the score. I think it's going to be a close one. I don't think it's going to be a big roll. So let's say 4-2 to them. I'm going to give them some confidence right now.
Just to give you a little bit more information, maybe it might sway your decision making a little bit. So the first map will be Gully Wash, and the first map was chosen by Flow. So in theory, in regular practice, it should be their map. Victory-wise, anyway.
I mean, they chose it for a reason. They've obviously got, they've had some positive experience on it, or perhaps they think that Rude Boys, maybe it's not their strongest map. Who knows? But we'll have to see in the end. What other maps are we looking at today? I'm just trying to find this out right now.
We also have Snakewater as the pick for the Rude Boy squad. And after all the bans were decided between both of these teams, the final remaining map was Badlands.
All right, yeah. Well, I mean, I can understand Snake. In their semi-final game last week, they beat, I believe it was Crunge Esports on that map. So Rude Boys, they obviously feel like they are very strong at that game. I think Overdose was playing Demo at that time. I mean, he's a very strong Demo man.
I think Overdose is actually playing Roaming Soldier.
Yeah, he's playing Roma for this game.
Okay, that makes sense now. I just assumed that he was playing Demo Man because I think he's a Demo Man player. So I'll just quickly check.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. But I mean, Overdose, I think he was, during his time, like, he was main calling for this team, so it'd be interesting to see if he's still doing that on the Roma class, or whether a Cecil on Demo will be taking over. But we are live right now, rolling out to the first mid-fight of the Season 27 mid-grand finals right now. Looks like the Soldiers opting for that low ground. Flow now just jumping up. Hellblazer, sorry, I get confused with the tag here. Cecil is incredibly weak in that choke already. He does get taken down, but the players are being cleaned up by Flow. They've got such a huge player advantage now. They're just chasing Classy and Enzo all the way out of choke. Looks like they're just being a little bit too greedy, though, as they've forgotten to cap up that midpoint. They will be going back right now, TurboTabs.
Yeah, it looked like the play from Rude Boy on that mid was a bit fragmented in my opinion. It looked like they wanted to get aggressive with the roamers on the blue side of things, but they were just way too tied up over on the Rude Boy squad dealing with the opposition's roamers. It just felt a lot more coordinated because not only did they defend their own side, they kind of pushed over at the same time as well whilst kind of dealing with that roamer.
AM picks up a drop onto Enzo there, jumping into Big Door. Great stuff from him. They can just clean up these frags now, one by one. Hellblazer, he's just really weak in this choke, but so is Classy. He will go down to Hellblazer in the end, so Flow now have themselves a big player and Uber advantage off the back of that drop. Fantastic stuff.
It is a little worrying to see that those are the sort of drops at the beginning of the game that might dictate your sort of like posture for the rest of your Uber pops, because you might feel a little bit more timid to use that Uber a bit earlier because you don't want to drop like you did in the first couple of minutes of the game.
Yeah, that would not be good. Maybe their scouts on the side of Rude Boys just weren't quite checking that sky. Just allowed that soldier in for free. But that was a great little play from him. AM will be falling up top right now. Classy and DigiB just putting some pressure on it, trying to delay that cap if they possibly can. George does have about a 50% advantage right now. This could be looking hairy for Rude Boys if they push nice and quickly. Overdose might be a little bit caught out in this river. He will just be jumping out right now, as I think the push should be coming in from this river area quite quickly. Enzo is on 80%, so she could just about milk this if she's careful, but here comes the push, TurboTabs.
Yeah, they've opted to pop in and immediately focus that sentry gun down with the scout, believe it or not, but they've actually respawned Copper back onto the heavy weapons guy now after that sentry gun was taken out, but he just happens to kind of spin his gun off whilst the soldier was attacking him, but thankfully he just had enough firepower and enough health to kind of remain that. So a nice little play from Copper in there, and kind of rotating back onto the heavy weapons guy to kind of really put an end to that post Uber.
Yeah, very nice play there from Overdose as well. He just chased George all the way into Big Door, managed to secure that frag. So Rude Boys, at the end of that very successful last defense, will have about a 30% Uber charge to work with. Very nice stuff from them. Let's see if they want to take this into mid right now. There's no heals on the side of Flow. They could potentially do this.
Is hiding though on the top balcony area, but he has been spotted, and they've even positioned the medic to kind of accommodate that. He is receiving a wide amount of spam at the moment, and there will be an attempt on his life in the form of Hellblazer, but doesn't quite find the frag. And they will seem to get these cleanup frags. They even get some bonus kills on the side of this. They've gone to the choke area. Not only did they get the medic, they got the demo man and the remaining team as well. It was just a disaster zone, it seems, for Flow right now.
Yeah, I think the Flow were a bit split up there as they tried to just defend from that mid. They just couldn't quite decide what to focus. Some players went forward. The soldiers jumped straight into the face of Enzo, but neither one could quite connect the kill. And the rest of the team eventually just got swamped out with a bit of a player advantage in their own choke. So now we're looking at that full Uber advantage for Enzo and Rude Boys. Look, AM is currently hiding in the forward spawn, actually. I don't think Rude Boys know this. They could potentially get a bit of a sandwich going on here. He's going into lobby. Copper will fall to Stickies, actually, but Flow being cleaned up behind, and 2TA on the Pyro, falling very, very quickly to this Uber through shutters now. They've got 3 frags that they could potentially use. Overdose now going to the point, just baiting these players. Mars Circumflex dancing around the point. He will pick up that frag onto Overdose. So it's looking possible to hold on to this from Flow now as the 2 respawners comes in. This is looking very, very hairy. Enzo will fall, and Cecil as well. Copper just going in for that last ditch attempt in the end. But that has not worked out for Rudeboys at all. George now has a completely full Uber advantage.
That was extremely clutch coming out from Flow there. I think a big shout out to Hellblazer, and I think it was Mars who kind of made that happen. I was a little bit worried when I saw Am coming in behind, and he ended up dropping very early, so he wasn't really contributing to that last defense. They went into that 5v6. The odds were stacked against them, but somehow they just kind of, prowess it out in the end.
Yeah, Flow looking to take this aggression forward actually. DigiB in this big door, he's taken a lot of damage, he will be falling, but the Uber Force has come out and it's not in such a great position for the Flow guys. They're in this lobby, trying to just get any frags they can, but as the Uber fades, it's that's all that's going to come out of that. The second cap. And Enzo now with the advantage. They could be looking to push out, but actually I think Copper on this NG, they're just going to be happy to just stay here on their last point, defend this with all they can right now.
Yeah, the Uber advantages are usually quite hollow when it comes to holding your last defense. You really don't want to push out because you're very susceptible to backcaps as well, and there's nothing about invincibility that's going to stop those sort of bad boys. So most teams will kind of just opt to play it safe and stay back and play off a mistake the enemy team pulls off.
The Uber now actually has come up through that river. Overdose taking that one forward. He's got a couple of frags for himself, as the remaining 3 players from Flow are just backing out into this choke point. Little Red Riding Hood is so caught out. He will be receiving a very, very nice arrow from George there, saving his life, allowing him to escape. But second will be re-pushed successfully by Rudeboys. But look at this Flow. They're just rotating to this big door, looking to try and do as much as they can with their Ubercharge advantage right now.
The flank is open, however, and Copper has noticed this. He's already gone onto the mid tier to actually fight off against Hellraiser, but during all of this they have reclaimed second and they're capping that off quite easily. I think even Hellblazer leaves him to it on that midpoint, realising that in the grand scheme of things he can't really do anything, and they're looking to make this push happen.
Yeah, they are. The Uber comes in now from Flow. A bit of a 5v6 last as Copper is still behind. The point being played already. Good cap time there coming in from AM, but the Uber now popped off in counter from Enzo, as it looks like Rudeboys, they want to chase out these players from River if they possibly can. But that was successfully defended. Enzo just about coming up on her Uber in time. I think it was an unlucky play there from Copper. It was good of him to see that the flank was open, and he did go for that, but Hellblazer just in a nice position on top of the point managed to kind of make that back cap attempt as useless as it could have been. So good stuff from him.
Yeah, it was the rough idea. Like, he wanted to get abuse the flank, of course, but he probably should have realised that there was a respawner coming in for Flow, and from there, his best choice was probably just make a big flank onto the medic or some other high-value pick class on the enemy team.
And Copper has managed to pick off the Flow sniper, 2TA, and he's switched off to that spy. He's going into lower. He's looking for anything he can. In fact, he's going all the way into mid right now. He's going to be rotating up to that choke.
This is some of the disadvantage of running a spy like this. Unless you go for the more risky route, it's a very, very, very long walk. And look, you can even see Mars is checking for the spy in the back area as well. So they probably see this a mile coming, maybe from some past experiences from their week 1 scrim perhaps. But who knows? But I think it's going to be very difficult for Copper. I think he might have to actually think about going back, perhaps.
I think he is. He's coming back through main right now. He's just done a looping tour of mid and decided that that wasn't the play for him. We'll be switching off to NG instead. There we go. He's had a nice little safari, but AM right now, he's coming in for the sack. Just gets absolutely bodied by Classy and Overdose there, completely unsuccessful. And I think Rudeboys will be looking for a counter sack of their own. Overdose just spamming out this top lobby right now, looking if he wants to go for these players in the lobby, Hellplayer and T2A. But I don't think he does, as AM will be respawning quite shortly. The Copper has got this nice sentry watching the point. I like that. So that's a good defensive capability from Rudeboys. Going to be tough to play any back cap attempts. You know, sneaky running the scout onto the point. if you've got that sentry gun watching it.
Yeah, a little bit. So, I mean, they're not really in a position to push out right now, so the sentry gun isn't going to do too much in that regard of work, and it has already been spammed out, and you can see the disadvantage of that spot. The engineer can't get to it and heal it in time. They've actually decided to use this time to jump the enemy medic, and Enzo has been forced to pop in the end, so we've got a full advantage on the hands of Flow.
Overdose there, looking for a bit of a counterplay. AM taking him down, but as you say, yeah, George now has his full advantage. As soon as Hellblazer will be respawning, I think they'll be looking to take this forward. Where they're going from, that's up to them. They're just making their minds up right now. They're umming and ahhing. I think it will be River in the end, as the Uber should be popped off very, very shortly. Overdose only just respawning now, but they're delaying. It looks like they're rotating around. They're just trying to make up their minds. AM looks like he's going in again. He gets good damage onto Enzo, forcing her into spawn as the point is being played from behind, but Cecil and DigiB handle that one very, very securely indeed. As actually 3 players have fallen now from Flow. George on about half HP, just escaping through the lower. So that was a bit of an interesting push, TurboTabs. What do you think of that? Jumping that soldier into the left spawn before committing the Uber.
I feel like the goals are very disconnected on that push. It looks like they want to frag the medic, but it's a very, very difficult frag. And even then, I don't see what it really accomplishes. You have the Uber advantage, and the heal advantage is pretty substantial as well, because that medic is very limited from her position. So I don't see why they kind of committed the entire player for that. And they need every single body, I think, if they're going to make this Gully Watch last push work.
Yeah, they do. Enzo and Cecil have worked their way all the way into mid through drop down right now. AM is actually behind. He'll be jumping up to River, but he's very low, and actually there's going to be no chance of a back cap from him, as this point is just being stacked up. And I think Rude Boys realise the potential they have right now. They want to try and get to this choke point as fast as possible, try and take second for free if they can.
Oh, AM has a possible sightline of the medic here.
Yeah, here he comes. He does manage to get a force off, and actually the trade from George coming in on this grass area right now. A Cecil so he can choke, but AM behind. He's doing so much work. He's killed a Cecil and he's chasing Enzo all the way into mid right now. Can he secure this frag? Enzo is so weak, but the scouts, no, they've come back now. Copper and Classy, and they've cleaned up 2 frags. But Mars Circumflex on a 6 killing streak right now takes down Classy on mid. So I think the positioning looks so much better for Flow right now. They're just capping up this mid. Copper looks like he's in a bit of trouble. He will get that arrow in the end and manage to escape.
I'm surprised Rude Boy didn't take the fight to them on that mid. They had the player advantage, and they definitely could have fought that with George going down. But I don't know. It looked like it was very good execution from Flow at first. They got a very nice Uber in, and Moz did some very nice focus fire on that. The very multi-Uber of Rude Boy, but then they kind of just threw it away by kind of lemminging in and chasing frags, and they didn't quite know where the frags were, and they ended up getting fragged themselves.
Yeah, Hellblazer there going in for a bit of a jump onto Enzo, who's just up on her Uber now, around about this choke. But DigiB has managed to work his way behind. He's up in this river right now. This could be catastrophic if he can get enough rockets onto George. He doesn't quite manage to do that. He will be taken down. But Enzo still has her Uber advantage, ever so slightly. Overdose with a really nice jump and nice rockets. Takes down Metal Red Riding Hood. So second will be being kept up right now, but they do have to be careful, Rude Boys. They are 2 players down.
It's a very dangerous spot, I think, to hold as a dome man on your own in the balcony like that. Keep in mind, this really affects their last defense as well. They could maybe snowball this in, realizing that they don't have a demo man to kind of defend this last point, but they don't really strike while the iron is hot. They will kind of delay things, just kind of take their time here for whatever reason.
Yeah, and Rude Boys, they can just they can take their time. 2TA is on the sniper, as is Classy, so we may be seeing a bit of a duel from them. It's going to really be up to who can hit that shot first, who can take out the enemy sniper, get enough space for maybe some more juicy picks. But we'll have to see. He's just taking a buff right now. Looks like Classy opting for this lower. You can I can just about see the other medic through the wall, but I don't think he'll be able to see that.
Oh wow, the fat man actually protected the sniper there.
Yeah, doing his duty, just absorbing that damage. I mean, if you were Rude Boys right now, you've got about half of the time left on this map. You're in control of so much of the map. What would you like to see them do to try and break this stalemate?
I think it's just they need to kind of reiterate what they're aiming for on these last pushes. I think if they all just coordinate what they want to accomplish, I think they can. The pushes will go a lot better than they've been previously doing. As oh, there's a standing still medic. There's a standing still medic. What is he doing?
Wow, George with the drop.
Is he AFK? Like,
I'm not sure, maybe he thought the heavy was protecting there, but I mean, it's not going to matter in the end. There's so many frags going the way of Rude Boys. The point being played as well. DigiB, that final frag there, will be capping up the point. George, come on, my man, your movement.
I mean,
movement keys.
The thing was, it wasn't just for one shot where he was standing still. It was 2 shots. So he heard the first shot and he stood completely. It looked like he was away from the keyboard. All right, maybe I'm getting a little bit caught, a bit too emotional, but standing still is not a good thing to do against a sniper. That's my analysis there.
Yeah, definitely a very odd decision indeed. But here we go, mid-fight number 2. AM has actually managed to work his way up into the drop down. I think he's just going to be escaping right now. The point presence looking a little bit better for Flow. They do lose 2 frags, but a nice frag onto Enzo. I mean, any Uber charge advantage should be nullified. George just has to stay alive now. DigiB going forward. He will be cleaned up in the end. So there we go. Flow have won that mid, and they've got their medic alive to boast about as well.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure about that bomb coming in from DigiB there. I think he realised that his other soldier, who was playing the other soldier? Overdose, yeah, that's why it's throwing me off. Overdose was in there, but he was way too injured to kind of contribute to a bomb, so the coordination looked a bit questionable there, but it's probably just a sign of miscommunication in the mumble. Yeah,
they probably just wanted to just secure that medic frag in the end, but again, it's much better to go in together and try and get that than going individually, which is what we've been seeing so far. But the Uber now in from River. Looks like both soldiers are jumping forward, and actually Classy on the heavy. He's so weak, there's so much damage for Flow. This should be an easy cap for them. They just clean up that last frag. And they will be capping that one off 1-1 off of the back of that dominant mid from them.
Now, it's going to sound a little strange, just kind of saying this, maybe almost obvious, but they're not really preserving their life on this last point. They're kind of just throwing themselves in there. Feel like that I suppose they have to die for the cause, like especially the heavy weapons guy, but I feel like they can get away with a lot more wriggling and just make, going back to the respawn, resubbing as a different class or something like that, trying to retake the fight rather than just taking the damage head on as we're into another middle.
Already in this mid-fight, 2 players down from both teams. Look at that, the frags. Cecil and Copper just cleaning up. They managed to win that one. George did live, so we're going to be seeing even Ubers, but that was a very nice, strong DM performance from Rude Boys. They just managed to absolutely shut down those soldiers and take all of the space on Flow's side. Very nice mid indeed.
So, let's see what they can cook up in the Flow kitchen to deal with this another last defense. But last time it went absolutely dreadful. Hopefully they'll realise that they can't keep these like sniper sight lines just uncovered like they did in the previous iteration, but there's no sniper however on the side of Rude Boy, so maybe they don't have to worry about that for now.
It looks like George is taking the absolute safest positioning he can. He's all the way in spawn. He does not want to get sniped again. He's clearly learned from his mistakes. So that could be a bit risky for them though, because if they just eat too much spam on the side of Flow with your heels that far back, it's gonna be tough. So I'd like to see him grow a pair of balls and move forward a bit. Just play his positions a bit more carefully.
Yeah, this is a bit of an issue as well. Sometimes you can suffer from a little bit of overcorrection where you feel like something's gone wrong and you kind of spend way too much or do way too much or do something that might actually hinder you to kind of fix the problem. So this is like a prime example of it. You got sniped earlier for not watching a certain sight line, so instead of just dealing with that sight line, you just move the entire defense setup to kind of make sure that medic can't possibly die, but you're kind of compromising a lot of ground on your side of things.
Yeah, 2 players did fall there from the side of Rude Boys, so it looks like Flow now. They're going to be opting to push out through this upper right now. Little Red Riding Hood and Hellblazer taking this forward, but the respawners have come in from Rude Boys, so they do need to be careful. I think they will be deciding to back off. It looks like Copper went for a bit of an attempt at the last through lower, but he will be backing off, so that was smart by them. But to just back off. They didn't want to take that fight there. It was too risky for them in terms of back caps. That's definitely smart play from Flow.
Yeah, Overdose kind of signing away his life there. AM following suit because his Roman compadre has done the same. Usually it's a good shout as a Roma to kind of take advantage of these little player down situations because you kind of go unpunished almost. So looks like they have opted for another classy sniper. I mean, if it worked once, surely it can work again.
Yeah, and there's no sniper this side on the face of Flowllout, whatever they are calling themselves. But a Cecil, he seems to have crated there. I'm not entirely sure what happened.
Oh, he's revealed himself. Oh man, George kind of giving a lot of sightline there to that sniper rifle, making me incredibly nervous, but he's keeping moving. So Little Red Riding Hood, that's a massive pick against the Flow team. Now that's none of these doorways covered with these stickies. The Neverman is a linchpin when it comes to these last defences, but they kind of brush off Overdose, and that will kind of deter them from pushing for now. But I feel like if they didn't have the sniper, they could have actually made that work. But c'est la vie, they do have the sniper, they have to just keep waiting for that pick.
I think Enzo did actually get forced there. That was possibly the reason for Cecil's cratering. I didn't pick up on that one myself. I clearly wasn't paying enough attention, but that means that George now has a full overcharge advantage. AM just jumping forward, taking all this space. 2TL will pick up Classy, as look how much space they have on second right now. Rude Boy is just all the way out of this choke point. EGB is behind in this lobby, but the point is being kept up now. He's got very, very little chance of a back cap. Maybe he can just pick up some frags, but Rude Boys, they do need to be careful. As Flow, they will have an Uber and player advantage coming into mid right now.
I just want to give a little shout out to George there, showing excellent discipline against that sniper, not revealing himself when it could have been a very possible pick for them to kind of come back into this on the side of Rude Boys, as they are kind of doing work with this Uber right now and finding the cleanup classes, and the medic is struggling to kind of find his way back outside of this, but he will get caught out. There is one scout left, but I can't really predict the scout pulling off too much here. He's just trying to get out, bless him, and he will get caught. And I can see this going into a round here if they just hold on to this Uber.
Yeah, that was some unfortunate positioning from Rude Boys actually. They did take like a weird sort of Uber train where both combos weren't really next to each other. And Rude Boys just ended up getting the slightly worse end of the positioning, but the push is coming in now. So many frags going both ways, but actually Flow is falling, and it looks like Rude Boys, they have managed to hold on to that. Excellent DN there coming out for them. It's just 2TA hiding under this point right now. Copper will have to be wary of him whilst holding this last. He's going up behind now, seeing what he can do, taking that 1v1. Copper though, with the superior tracking, will take him down with Natasha as well. So Rude Boys, they do have a player advantage they could be using if they want to try and take this into mid at all.
Man, that was quite the ball drop from Flow there. They had that in the bag, they just had to wait on the Uber, but they were just being way too impatient and way too greedy, so they've been punished for the sins now. And they do force off the Uber on the middle, however. That is the silver lining of this story, but it's still going to be considered a good Uber, in, I guess, finger quotes, as they do kind of take the midpoint and probably can roll this onto second, because it is Gully Wash after all.
This is risky for them though, because George will have that advantage, and actually with Overdose falling as well, Rude Boys are all over this second point, but Flow, they could contest if they want to.
No chance.
Coming up on their Uber soon.
It looks like they're still committing, but they've capped off the point now. They can probably just defend it from an arm's reach. They will kind of give up the copper kill though, and they've actually given up all the ground. I thought they would have held on to that, but I guess the threat of the Uber, it does kind of make things scary just a little bit, but I mean, who knows? They're going into mid now with the Uber as well, so they probably will just get this off the threat alone. And God, there's so much respect and ground being given up by Rude Boy. I thought they would throw up some kind of resistance here, maybe a little bit of spam, something.
Yeah, they could have very easily just spammed out that choke point, or send in a sacking soldier for George. Maybe they just decided they want to hang out on their second. They much prefer that block. They are the Rude Boys of second, or something along those lines. Yeah, that was unfortunate to give up both of those points there off the back of the advantage. It would have been nice to see them go for some sort of play. Copper now on that sniper, watching into choke. The Flow team will have to be careful of that. They're just absolutely no respecting him now. Little Red Riding Hood just keeps peeking that corner. Scout jumping past as well. He's got to hit those shots, but AM, he does jump in from Big Door and manages to get the force off to Enzo. So that is big for Flo right now. They can just be careful. George, sorry, a little bit of a bad position in this elbow. I think he will be just slithering away. There we go. That's worked out for them in the end. TurboTabs.
Yeah, it looks like they want to slow push it from the choke area. I feel like they could have gone a little bit greedier there and used their Uber from, well, maybe not use the Uber, but kind of threaten from the big door area. Because from there, you either cut, at best, you're cutting off an entire team that's out of position, and I guess at its worst, you're still going to get that second point just because you've got that Uber, and you can really force the fight if you wanted to. But at the end of the day, it gets the job done. They've got their Uber now for the second push, but there are Uber waiting in the wings from Enzo soon. She just needs a little bit of time delayed, and I think that's what this heavy weapons guy is going to do. But even better than that, he's actually killing everybody on the heavy weapons guy. He's not the delay, he's the destruction.
It's just this demo man left under the point. Little Red Riding Hood, seeing what he can do, just keeps peeking Copper. If he can get a few nice pipes off, he might be able to get that frag. But all Rude Boys need to do is just run a scout or a soldier into water, and there we go. DigiB eventually will be cleaning up that demo man frag. So this is, I think this is looking good for Rude Boys to push out onto second here. They've got no sticky traps to worry about. They've got no Uber to worry about either. But AM, once again, taking that initiative, finding an opening onto Enzo, will get that force off. So that is just what they needed on the side of Flo. Rude Boys will be taking this second, but we could be seeing a repush very, very shortly.
I feel like Enzo's just a little bit panicky in these situations. I feel like if you just had a little bit more confidence in her and just maybe start opting to get some of these surfs out, you could probably survive a lot of these bombs as they're not truly life-threatening.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe just not quite comfortable enough, or maybe not feeling safe enough around the rest of her team. But look at this, Little Red Riding Hood, so aggressive in that river. He's getting so much damage. He picks up 3 kills. Hellblazer as well, the Uber coming in. But it's just Copper left alive. I think that is going to be completely curtains for that round. What an absolute cut-off from Flo, just destroying Rude Boys in that river.
See, that's exactly what I was talking about. That's the power of having the Uber advantage and going through Big Door, baby. You can just get into the face of them, and because they were caught out position in that top area, they just had them by the jugular and they could not get out.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they're listening to your advice right now on the stream, and they've followed it and it's worked out for them. That's great stuff from them. Rude Boys for this mid, opting for the right side aggressively, but AM and Hellblazer, they've gone in so deep, they managed to pick up Enzo. That's a big frag for them as there's so much damage on the side of Rude Boys. It's just up to George to sort of keep himself alive. He's got to be careful of this flanking DigiB, who will be getting the hack-in choke, but I think no, he's just going to be a bit caught off. He will be falling to Hellblazer, and actually Cecil falling to TA. He's just picked up 2 frags in lobby. He'll be securing this second for sure, and maybe with 10 seconds on those respawners, maybe even last off of the back of that as well.
They can roll this all the way to last. They don't need to, there's no time to waste. They can just get in before they get any of these respawners. They're taking such a long time though, because they're taking the scenic route for the riverside, but I mean, they'll get there eventually. But look at all these buff players that have just come in now. That's like made it 4 times harder than they could have possibly taken the fight earlier. Just a little bit of unneeded time wasting from Flo there, but they have got the upper hand, however. So, and with them Ubering in, they just need to focus down this heavy. This heavy's been a massive chore for them for all these last defenses. They do finally take him out now, and the fight is going a little bit better, but it's still kind of an even-Steven situation. They will actually win it out from just the cap point alone. I guess the scouts kind of just winning out on the little DM fights that are the most important there, and that was just the one around the objective. So good shout to the scouts there from Flo.
Yeah, it's just such a messy fight that these Ubers into last. There haven't really been any sort of focused players to talk about, you know, whatsoever. So DM kind of just going in terms of these 1v1s. So I mean, it's you really need to be focusing down those players if you want those pushes to work out better. But I mean, it worked out for them in the end. Here we go, an absolutely destructive mid from Flo. 4 players down already, all dying at the same time. The silver lining could be that Enzo may just be escaping right now. Yeah, I think she will. Flo will be on the chase. They're taking their time actually, and Enzo I think will be living there. So that's a very, very nice play from her to just escape. Make sure she has Uber for defending last.
It's pretty much the fat lady is singing high and mighty at this point. It is only 50 seconds left on the clock, and with 3-1 the scoreline, I don't think any amount of TCM pushes can bring you back from the brink here. So, and this is a tough game to swallow as well, Everex. There was a lot of moments where both of these teams could have won this map outright, or just scraped it above the other one. And luckily, Flo doesn't have to take that hard look in the mirror quite yet. But maybe if you're on the side of Rude Boy, I heard in places that they were supposed to take this easy.
Well, yeah, you did hear that. But I mean, this was Flo's pick, so there was definitely a reason that they picked it. And I mean, I think we're seeing the results of that, the fruits of their labour coming through right now, as they will be taking Gullywash with a reasonably dominant 3-1. That first round was quite slow, around about 15 minutes. But beyond that, they managed to pick up a couple of quick rounds, eventually securing that map for them. So there we go, my prediction. Been completely shattered there. Gone the other way around entirely.
It does feel good when the analysis wins. It feels like, it feels like I know a thing about this game,
Yeah, well, I mean, hands down, you got it right. You got it bang on. Flowllout will take this map, so there we go.
But, oh no, I mean, it did look like a weak Gullywash there, not really the shutout, first map pick from the Flow team that I was truly expecting, so it has kind of turned my tides a little bit going into the second map. I think maybe you have a rough idea of what you're saying here, Everex. I can see Rude Boys can't make a comeback on the Snakewater map.
Yeah, well, maybe they're going to be banking on the fact that they're a lot stronger on Snakewater if they want to take this. I mean, if they give another map to Flowllout, that will be it. This is a best of 3 after all, so they really do need to be taking this one. But I think we've got some logs right now to just see who were the standout players and who could be pulling a little bit more weight for their team.
All right, yes, damage per minute, and that's the stat everyone likes to see. And believe it or not, it's coming out from the Merc. It's from Overdose, the one that kept charging in. I guess he had to get some damage somewhere.
Yeah. The fact that Overdose was on Roma as well, that's big plays from him to get that level of DPM.
I mean, not too surprising. Gullywash kind of lends itself to the Roma sort of style. You almost have like a 3 setup on mid, because you kind of start off with like a hidden power by just going straight underneath, compared to a lot of maps where you're kind of out in the open or very exposed, or it's very telegraphed whereabouts you're hiding. But yeah, Overdose, it seemed like Overdose got most of that damage from just kind of throwing himself in there. And there were times that stick out in my head where it did work out incredibly well, but there was a lot of times that it didn't work out as well. And you can kind of see that as he was the one that died the most in the server. Actually, was he? No, it was actually Am's Flow, or Flow's Am.
I mean, that brings an interesting point about Am. I mean, he did have that top death, but if you look at Enzo's deaths as well... Oh, hang on, this has just changed. No, okay. Right, I'm just confusing myself. If you look at Enzo's death, 7, she was dying quite a lot, and also getting forced by Am, and I think that's the key.
Oh yeah,
he was finding those opportunities, and he was jumping in, and he was making them work more often than not.
I think that was the major difference maker. Like, I think Enzo was forced a lot more compared to... I would actually love to see the medic stats, maybe, to see if this kind of gets backed up as well. There we go. So if we could find that, they're both kind of evening on the drops here. I can't quite remember actually how Enzo dropped, but I think if we have a look at, there is a stat here somewhere that will help me dictate this. All right, I'm struggling to find it right now in the sea of text, but you're gonna have to take my word for it. Okay, it just felt like watching that game there was a lot of unnecessary pops from Enzo, but there were some blunders coming out from George as well, and I don't think we should address that particular blunder.
Yeah,
it got me hot-headed at one point.
Interesting movement decision from him, lending that to the nice classy headshot. I'm sure he'll be wanting to forget about that as quickly as he possibly can. Bit of an interesting one. Yeah. Let's Can we possibly see the next page of these stats? Is there anything to uncover?
Look at that the biggest advantage loss. There was almost like an extra 2 minutes added onto that Uber advantage. Anyway, just looking at the mids, I guess this mid-tier grand final is be dictating almost kind of spoiling what the main cause of all this winning is for Flow, and it will be the mids. It seems. I think the mids actually. I don't know. It felt a lot more even actually from what I remember. But
you know what this page makes me think? I think the damage and the frags are actually very, very even from both teams. But if you look at the number of caps and the number of mids that blue won compared to red, 4 to their 1. Actually, I think the fact that this was Flow's pick, they obviously had a lot better of an understanding of how to play the map, even though the DM was quite even between the two teams. So that's kind of why they were managing to capitalize off of their advantages a lot better and cap up those points, even though really the kills and the damage were quite even. So I think that does go to show how that really, like their map choice lent itself to them.
Maybe. I think it might be a sign of how strong their last defense was, because there was a lot of back and forth between both of these teams as well. They just couldn't quite crack that last point for whatever reason. And I guess eventually, given enough tries, Flow did kind of crack down the answer, and that was to take out the heavy weapons copper on that last point and just kind of pick off the players from there.
Yeah. Well, good to know that they are adapting, I suppose. They're learning as they go. But we will be moving on shortly to our second map, CP Snakewater here. This is Rudeboys on the Block's pick. So how do you think, having seen that Snakewater game, TurboTabs, how do you think these two teams are going to be stacking up on this map, Snakewater?
I'm just still having a glance at the logs, just the frag percentage. But to answer your question, I think Snakewater. I think it will just. Maybe if you could give me a little rain check, I want to see like how the first mid goes. I want to see how they how Rude Boy kind of approaches it, because I think it will come down to a lot of momentum here. Because I don't think they got a chance to get any momentum in that last game, especially when it comes to just kind of rolling out the initial mid and kind of fighting back with an advantage. Because most of the time, I think when they did push back, they would get a very strong pushback from the last. They would get an Uber ready, but by the time they get to the last point, I think George would get his own Uber and they would kind of hit this stalemate. So maybe they can kind of break that sort of issue by just kind of outright winning the mids and then kind of rolling with the Uber advantage from there. But again, it depends if their mids are up to snuff. But I don't know. I mean, is their map pick? I mean, surely you've got to have a confident mid if it's your map pick.
I mean, how do you think as well the snipers from these two teams will sort of stack up? I think we've seen some nice plays from Classy so far, but I mean, I don't think I've really seen a lot of good sniping from the other team, from Flow so far.
No, there's not been any pedigree on show, to be honest, in regards to sniper. I think if there's been any sniping from any of these teams, it's been very practical sniping, where you're just going for body shots or getting these, these sightlines or anything like that. I don't think anybody's like a star sniper on any of these teams, so I doubt we're going to see it. But who knows? I mean, I think they're just going to pick it in the scenarios where you're forced to go as some sort of picking class, and the spy is very, I guess, expected from both of these teams. It feels like they kind of know each other in a sense, because I know that there was one-ish kind of spy play in the last map where I think it was Copper. Copper immediately went spy after getting this initial sniper pick, and they were already checking people. Like, they know that he does this shenanigans all the time. So I don't think we're going to see much spy. I don't think we're going to see much sniper unless we're forced into that sort of stalemate scenario. I think it's just going to come down to who wins these mids and who makes the first mistake on the second or last.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it definitely will come down to momentum a lot. Especially after winning the mid fights and sort of second pushes, things like that. But I mean, you're right about Copper, the Copper spy. I think that is definitely a well-known sort of trick of the trade, that he likes to go to that spy class in especially the situations I think he uses it most in is if you fail a last push and the other team is pushing out of last. He loves to switch to that spy. So that is definitely something that Flow will need to look out for if they want to avoid any backcap attempts from him. But I mean, it's hard to say if he's going to use that in this sort of, the high-intensity grand final, or if he kind of uses that as a bit more of a gimmick play. I think that might possibly be it. But, it is something to definitely look out for sure. But what about then, TurboTabs? Hit us up with your fat prediction, because you got it right. The analysts obviously, he knows something. So, what do you think? Can you predict us this map?
I'm going to take a guess that I'm just going to have to go with the map pick alone. The fact that it was their map pick to take, and how close the last game was, really, in just how back and forth it was. I think it was just kind of a bit of snuffs up, and we couldn't quite crack the last point for the last map. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Rude Boys on the block for this one. I think it's just going to go to a one map tie each, and the Badlands is going to be the real decider.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, that makes sense. That sounds definitely like a very good prediction. So I'm going to go for the very bad prediction. Well, I mean, not necessarily, but I'll go for the other team. I'll go for Flow, just to make things interesting between these predictions. I think let's say Flow are going to take this. I think it's going to be close. So let's say 2-1. Quite a slow game, I feel.
I mean, I don't think it'll be a slow game. I think both of these teams don't really. They don't feel like comfortable, like staying in a stalemate situation, or at least, it's very strange, really, not to find. I don't think there was really one solid stalemate situation in the last game, and which is a little surprising to me. So I don't think none of these teams are about that. They just kind of want to like throw themselves in there, and if they either stick the landing or they kind of mess up. So I think it probably will be 2-1. To Rude Boys, but it's just going to be very back and forth like the last game.
Alright, well here we go, our first mid-fight of this second map, Snakewater, in our mid-grand finals right now, Season 27. Hellblazer and Am are in already, just absolutely destroying right now. Rude Boys looking very, very shaky on that first mid. George... ignore me completely. Enzo will be escaping, however, so that's a bit of a silver lining for them. But that was so destructive, TurboTabs.
Yeah, Hellblazer, just like a bat out of hell, came in out of nowhere and just destroyed the enemy team. He kind of, not only did he lay a massive amount of damage, and I think he got an opening pick as well. I think he kind of caused a bit of a distraction enough that it was a bit difficult for them to kind of do anything or any kind of counter initiation on Rude Boy, and they kind of wasted all his ammo just trying to kill Hellblazer. I don't think he even went down during all that fighting. Copper will get the pick onto Hellblazer, however, on the sniper class, but I mean, this is the last point, you gotta go sniper.
I mean, that should slow down Flow a little bit, that loss of that player. It almost looked like for a moment they wanted to try and go for this push anyway. 2TA kind of just poking into this left side right now. Copper is calling for medic on that sniper. He wants an arrow. He will finally get them. But Little Red Riding Hood will pick off Overdose, actually, so that could be a good pick that Flow could potentially use for this push, as it looks like Am will be taking that opportunity, sacking in. He gets a nice rocket onto Enzo. It won't be quite enough. She does hold on to that Uber.
Yeah, so we're not giving anything majorly away now to the sniper, and actually they will actually get a random pick on the bubble scout. I think that was over on Flow. I don't know how he died there. I kind of missed that. Busy looking at the sniper warfare on the right hand side.
DigiB was just holding on that little fence close to the door, and I suppose that scout thought that he could maybe get a quick pick onto Copper, but he didn't quite realise that DigiB was there to protect him. So yeah, he will be falling. At one point there, it looked like Flow did have 2 players down, so Rude Boys, they could have potentially looked to try and take that forward, but I think they just decided that it would be best for them to just stay on the last point, make sure everything is absolutely safe and secure. They didn't want to try and push out or take any space at all. That's a respectable decision.
They've taken advantage of it, however. They brought up the sniper class, and he had a sideline and the medic there, but kind of hesitated on the right click. So just kind of waiting around now. He sees the heal beam, but he will actually get picked off by the...
Hang on a minute, what?
Yeah. the ability of the Machina, man.
Wow.
It doesn't matter if there's any fat man or, you know, somewhat fatter or a little bit fatter man in front of you. You can still, you know, puncture and get that sniper pick.
Oh,
actually,
my god, Copper! He gets the flow, the AM pick through the crack of the barrels there. Wow. Great stuff by him.
I guess maybe they do have there is some pedigree of sniping going on in this game, and wow, Rude Boy, yeah, I think he even got another headshot onto the scout there. He's kind of on a roll here, on a rampage practically, and look at all this space he's bought his team. Why are they not pushing out? Oh, they've lost the Demoman, that's why.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Just the trap there took down their Cecil. They could have just capitalised on that space. But that Copper brought them again. Copper hitting her third headshot onto Am, taking him down. It looks like the medic of Flow, George, has to be a little bit careful with his positioning right now, as Copper is just poking into this left side. But 2TA once again just giving that no respect, not really playing his positions. Just keeps sort of jumping in front of Copper. But he's been showing he is hitting those headshots, so you do have to be careful.
That's what happens when I make bold statements like there's no sniper pedigree here. They hear my words and they just want to fight back, get the stream, I guess, glory for themselves.
Yeah, this is they've got it all to prove right now. Hellblazer, actually, he's jumped in from this right side, done a nice double skip jump. He tries to just get that rocket onto Enzo, but she was just far enough back to avoid that one. Bit of a failed sack attempt from Hellblazer right now. Maybe he'll be opening up a door for his scout to switch off to sniper? I don't think so, actually.
Spy play.
Oh, he's going for the spy play, yeah.
I mean, oh! Didn't see that coming.
Copper! He gets the drop. Blimey, just as I switched to his cam, he picks that one up. That is very, very big for Rude Boys, that full Uber advantage now. They can just wait till Copper respawns and try and take this forward. You have got that risk of the Hellblazer backcap though. He is just hiding under on that spy.
It would be a very slow backcap though, I don't think it would. It would have to be one hell of a commit push. Oh man, he got spammed out as well, so they know that there's a spy up.
Yeah, Rude Boys, they are picking up frags actually. Am and T2A will be falling as Hellblazer is coming up behind. He's deciding what he wants to do. I think he maybe wants to... I don't know, I'm trying to work out what his intentions are here, but he's keeping it a mystery from me. But with two players down from Flow...
I can't believe he's going to get this pick. He actually whiffs it to ice.
Oh.
He had it. Yeah, I don't know how. They like spammed him out. He knows... They know that there's a spy around, but they're not really protecting Enzo whatsoever. And because he was rocking that soldier disguise, he was a little too slow to actually get to the pack in time with the backstab, and then whiffed it again, and then died. Tragic.
I quite like that strat actually, disguising as a soldier. I suppose you don't really expect a soldier to be a spy because it obviously moves slower. You expect the kind of the scout disguises, or maybe even demo. So that was a nice try by him, I suppose, to try and outbrain his enemy, fool them into thinking he was a real gamer. But at one point there, Rude Boys, they could have had a good attempt onto mid, but I think they just decided not to. They decided to back out for that spy. But look at that, once again, Am. He gets the force onto Enzo. He's just been doing this every single time. How is he so consistent at getting those forces?
Yeah, so it looks like they're just going to wait for Am to respawn now, and they're going to begin their push. I think they're even thinking about where they're going to push out now. They're looking to make a slow push from grass. They are slightly waiting for Am, but they decide to go in without him and need to keep an eye out for any sort of sticky traps or any sort of kind of bombing play from the Rude Boys. But they're not going to commit anybody for it. They're just going to take the hit from the little initial force and instead opt to stay at last and maybe just build that Uber quick enough that they can't play off the Uber advantage.
Copper right now is opting for that sneaky sentry placement all the way down lower as the Ubers now, they are traded actually on the left side. Flow just slightly getting the worst end of that. Mars Circumflex will die along with Am. So with a 2-player ad for Rude Boys, Overdose, he's on 3 HP, he's fighting that scout. A Cecil eventually comes in to clean that one up. But this should look like a fairly easy repush onto second if they move quickly at TurboTabs.
Some very nice juking from Overdose there, kind of baiting that scout in and making him overextend for the kill that he couldn't even find in the end anyway. And they even got a bonus kill onto the Demo Man. Hello, that is a nice little pick going into that mid. Mwah, that is going to work nicely. They just need to pick a door, any door, and just start walking in.
Hey, this could be big for them. Am is behind, but he will be cleaned up very, very quickly. Hellblazer also jumping in. Great rocket takes down Enzo. The frags, however, they are falling Rude Boy's way. They could take this. George in about half HP. Mars as well, so weak. T2A just a bit overextended in front of his team. The death ball of Rude Boys will be taking him down. So really, really nice stuff from them to take that point. But Enzo only just respawning, meaning that George has a big, big Uber advantage.
I think there's maybe just a little bit too much sync play from Rude Boy in that moment. They all kind of flocked to one area to kind of deal with a flanking player of some kind, and they left poor Enzo to kind of meet the horrible end of that bombing Hellraiser there.
Yeah, very nice from him. Hellblazer is already forward onto this point. The Uber now coming in from them. It looks like the Rude Boy players, they could be so caught out right now, as Am actually managed to pick up 2 onto DigiB and Copper. So I think they want to try and chase this forward. Hellblazer looking like he wants to get aggressive, but what is this? T2A! He's so far forward, just trying to get onto the medic there. Enzo, a really nice rocket from Overdose will be taking him down in the end. So Enzo now up on her Uber. Could be trying to take this into mid.
What is going on? They've just kind of threw away 2 players. I don't know if they just had a brain fart in this very last moment of TF2. They kind of threw 1 player away for whatever reason. He went for a bomb into 5 players by himself. Okay, and then Hellblazer was just holding close to the doors for some reason while the rest of his team was back. Wasn't even trying to hide. So it's very questionable play coming out from Flow in these last few seconds of the game. They do get the Uber built during all that distraction time, but I feel like they could have done a little bit more.
Rude Boy is opting for the slow push on grass here, but this could be risky for them. The Uber has come out of both teams now. They need to try and just get some frags or get out. That is their aim. Copper is falling, so that's not worked out at all for them. I think they're a bit slow to push off of that mid. And I don't think they're going to be getting the better end of this at all. There's so many frags going the way of Flow. They will be holding on to their second right now.
Yeah, nice little stylish back-to-back kills from Bubble there. He will meet his end from the opposing Demoman, however, and a good job from Mars just kind of pushing everybody out here on Rude Boy. They're not really feeling the 1v1 fight against Mars right now. They will kind of dedicate enough players in to kind of deter the mid-cap, however, and they have got respawners on their side. If they keep taking these trades, they will eventually win out this fight, and there's no Ubers on either of these teams anytime soon. Mars is going to have to come out with the biggest flank of his life if he's going to turn this around, but keep in mind, Overdose knows he's there, so... And he will actually not reveal himself immediately, and he's not syncing up with his team. They've just decided to back, leave him in the dust, and Mars is just gonna... I don't know what he's gonna do.
He's looking for something. T2A actually manages to pick up Overdose on his second right now. He was going a bit far forward.
Mars wants the back cap, I think, but they're not giving it to him. They're not leaving the midpoint.
He's just hiding around in this saw. Maybe he's going to go for that BM pick onto Overdose again as he respawns, who knows. But it looks like he's going forward now. The distraction play coming in. He does manage to get the Force out along with AM. That is a 2-player sack, but they will get the Force out of Enzo. If George can just live here, he's so far back, I think this will be easy for them to just hold on to their Uber and then recontest second as soon as the respawners come in. But never mind, they're going for it straight away. The Uber coming in. It's blocking the point, but actually they've lost 3 players before this has even started. George absolutely caught way out of position. Hellblazers as well just failed the kill onto a Cecil. So that was a very nice try from them, but I think Rude Boys, they're looking so set to take this round right now.
I could see the rough idea they had there. They because they got that Force out onto the midpoint, and they had that Uber in the back pocket, they feel like they could make the greedy play by using an aggressive Uber into them, but I feel like the prowess of either the soldier or the demo man wasn't quite shown there. They couldn't really latch onto any targets whatsoever. They did a perfect delta split from Rude Boy and kind of kited that entire Uber. It didn't help that they also dropped a player during all that chaos as well, so they weren't looking threatening at all. They kind of just didn't even have to kill them. You just had to look at them in this their poor little sad eyes as they just whittled down their Uber.
Here we go then, mid-fight number 2, as Hellblazer will be jumping all the way into the choke. He does actually manage to pick up Enzo, a big pick for them. The counter coming in now, Enzo will be falling as well. So a bit of a 3v3 fight, they could potentially do this. Copper, he takes that 1v1 with T2A, takes him down. And he's still alive, Classy coming in as well. They just need to converge on this demo. Little Red Riding Hood, he's the last one alive. Manages to get that pack, and a nice pipe takes down Copper. He will be escaping with his life. Big stuff from him, but the mid in the end will be won by the Rude Boys.
Not quite like the last mid where, I mean, Hellblazer had the same sort of performance where he kind of did a massive bomb in and got a nice little pick to start things off, but it was on a med pick, and you know how some teams kind of their vision turns red and they realise there's nothing shackling me down now, I just need to take out as many players on the opposite side, and it needs to be it needs to be the medic. So they took out the medic, and not only that, they kind of just followed things up by getting some bonus frags as well, just from all that momentum.
Yeah, now this is where, if Rude Boys are smart, they'll try and slow the game down as much as they can, try and play it on their own terms. It looks like a sack is coming from Am. He actually picks up 2. What is that? Classy and Enzo will be falling to the bomb from Am. Very, very big place from him. Blimey.
That's truly amazing. Very rare sight for any roamer, let alone like one in a playoff game as well, usually. Oh wow, Copper, that's the pick onto Hellblazer. That's going to make maybe shutting down these doors a little bit. If I was George, I would be just a little bit like shy. Oh man, they even lose the scout as well. This is looking kind of scary in a way. They could probably force them if they dedicate a few players. Yeah, there we go. There's the dedication coming in. They're trying to find them, and they will get the bomb onto George. They will force him off, but they do lose both of those players. They probably expected this though, however, and that was a very costly mid for them. It looks like they could have held on to that if the scout bubble just didn't overextend in that doorway.
I mean, George once again with the really somewhat questionable positioning. He was just hiding on those barrels, once again standing completely still. And we know how that worked out for him last time. Copper with a big headshot. 3 players actually down right now on the side of Flow, so this could be definitely the opportunity for some momentum that Rude Boys can use to take this forward. Copper's still on that sniper as well.
They're absolutely terrified of Copper. There's nothing they can... It feels like there's nothing they can do, and he's just doing so much work for them right now. Oh man, he's even getting pot shots into the demo at the spawn. If he got that shot into the demo, that would have been absolutely ghastly.
Yeah, Rude Boys, they do have a slight uber advantage, but maybe they're just opting not to push with that sniper. T2A overextending very, very nicely to pick up that frag. He will be living as well, so that was a nice bit of incentive from him. Hellblazer immediately taking that opportunity to try and go in, but T2A, he's still at it, he's still going forward. He wants something. I think Hellblazer is jumping all the way behind right now. Oh no, he would just be jumping out, trying to look for that sack opportunity, but not quite successful. So yeah, it was good to play off of the back of that initial pick.
I think when he got that pick onto that sniper, it was quite a stylish pick. It was the sort of overextension where you kind of think you're going to die as well, but he also got out, so I think he was kind of feeling himself at the end there and realised, you know what, I can take on anybody, I'm just this good. So he kind of started trying to take a 1v1 at the choke area. It was eventually called back by his team, but you can kind of see that he's like feeding himself in these games right now.
Well, there we go. The rare occasion where Am goes in for a sack and actually isn't successful. Overdose did dive in a little bit earlier and go down, so Am just taking that opportunity.
I'm surprised they aren't holding closer over on the
they are quite
team.
far back. Maybe they're fearing that. Well, I don't know what they're fearing actually, because they don't have a sniper Flow. But they could be holding close. I think, yeah, they are rotating a little bit further forward now. They just wanted to take their buffs, take their medicine, make sure they were feeling nice and healthy, and then go back forward. But I mean, all the time that is wearing down right now is absolutely playing into Rude Boys' favour. They absolutely don't have to do anything at all. They have that midpoint and the round advantage.
I feel like they're giving them way too much respect on both sides of the map here. They can at least think about pressuring one side of the map here. But they look a little scared in my opinion.
I mean, so far I think Rude Boys have been doing a good job of just shutting down all the entrances, making sure nothing can get in. Actually, Am and Hellblazer, they both tried to go for a bit of a play there and will be falling. So with no soldiers to spam them out, Rude Boys could potentially just take this second point completely for free. They are flooding onto it now. 5 seconds until those soldiers will be respawning. I wonder if they'll try and take this into last or not. Possibly not.
I think... Oh my god, is that a back cap?
Oh my god. No way. Copper, he runs all the way behind and caps that up. Right under the noses of 6 players. Oh my god. How? How is that even possible?
I mean, it was unexpected. Even I was a bit shocked by that. I guess he must have got in there incredibly early, because that was capping as soon as second point was capped as well, and they just weren't attuned to it. They were not predicting it whatsoever.
I mean, that's just insane. I think Flow, they were going to be feeling a little bit shaky after that one for sure. As we come into this mid-fight, Little Red Riding Hood is looking a little bit weak. He will be arrowed up with the aggression now just coming in from them.
What a mid.
3 frags straight away. Overdose will pick up 2 actually into Hellblazer and T2A, but the nice wraparound from Am will eventually take him down. George managing to survive as well. So the second dominant mid actually from Flow, winning that one out in the end.
Very nice aggression. It just felt like all of Flow was synced up there perfectly. I mean, they kind of disregarded George at the last minute there, but he kind of pulled his own weight there by just surfing all the aggression that was put onto him by, I think it was Overdose, who couldn't quite finish the frag there.
Yeah, Classy has picked up this heavy. He's going to be looking to just deny as much of this Uber as he can as it comes in now. Mars taking this forward, but he's not quite connected with his medic. He may be dropped if he's not careful. BGB picking up Hellblazer, actually T2A as well. So that's going to be a bit of a failure. Look at these players, they're so weak. It's just Am on top of the point on 12 HP. He will be falling. Mars has just taken that opportunity to hightail it out of there. Absolutely car crash of a push from Flow. What happened there?
I'm extremely surprised they didn't see Overdose there. He was kind of on top of them, and it was like an awkward scenario where, you know, you're in a pub and you're kind of fragging people that don't have a sight line of you, and the person in front doesn't know that the person behind him is getting killed and stuff like that. I thought the medic would have called that out, so I probably could cite a communication error there from the side of Enzo. Maybe she isn't screaming enough, saying that there's a Roma right behind you guys.
Possibly, yeah. But Am did go in for that jump right there. So Hellblazer as well. He's managed to find a little opportunity dropping out of that window. He gets some nice damage onto Enzo. Jumps forward. Enzo possibly just respecting that a bit too much. Will force out her Uber as George is just coming up on his own. So I think the recontestion will be coming in very, very shortly from Flow as they come in now from Choke. Uber popped off. This could be absolutely catastrophic. 2 players down already. Straight away, Overdose jumping in onto the point for him and Copper, just trying to go in for that last ditch attempt, will be cleaned up. So yeah, Flow just winning that one off of the back of a nice force. Very nice. Perfect.
This time it was somewhat similar to what they were trying to execute on second earlier, but this time they had a much better class choice on the Uber. They were opting to Uber a lot more scouts during that, and the scouts just perfect for chasing kills like that. You kind of want to expend ammo to try and get away from these little tiny doors, but just by the way that the mid is designed on Snakewater, it's not going to be an easy task, and a scout can make use of that very, very easily. So they get a wonderful turnaround decision there by Flow.
Well, DigiB just holding that right side door very closely. It does pick up Hellblazer as a nice pick, so he's now gone on to that spy. We'll see if he can have a slightly more successful attempt than last time. But Copper is on that spy as well, but I think he's just going to be opting to switch out, go to some different off-class, and that will be Sniper. He's shown us a strong performance so far on the Sniper. Let's see if he can do it again, but Copper, what is going on? He keeps changing in that spawn. He's just trying to make his mind up.
No, he's checking the classes, seeing what off-classes they have on the enemy team.
Yeah.
So he's just checked spy now. So he's probably called out that there's a spy on the enemy team. Yeah, they will know
that Hellblazer is on spy, so that's going to make it a bit more difficult for him to get anything done, especially now that they know he's worked his way into lower. If anything pokes around that corner, maybe he'll be able to get an opening pick onto them. We'll have to see. But right now, we're looking at about 7 minutes left in this game, and rudeboys, they're on a 2-0 advantage. So, I mean, if they can just, you know, keep this defense going for as long as they can, wear down that time, I think this map will be looking set for them. But who knows? Everything can change around in 7 minutes. We'll have to see.
I mean, what do you believe in more? Do you believe in the track record of Rude Boy, where they seem to kind of forget about Spy, and oh wow, actually they are spy checking somewhat. They found the Spy now, so he's not really going to have an impact play whatsoever. They did kind of throw a distraction in for Hellblazer, and it was somewhat of a nice idea, but it's a very, very hard map to execute things on. Snake Water just doesn't really lend itself to the Spy at all, compared to, like, say, a map like Granary, for example.
Look at this. Flow, they're all three, they're combo. They're in lower, and they haven't actually checked it. Nobody's pushed out through lower. This could be absolutely fatal for them. They're rotating to this top lobby. They've Ubered in. They're going to kill this level 1 sentry from Copper. That is the only defense at this point right now. Copper will be falling as well.
Oh, what a block!
Oh, this is so close. Whew.
What a block! Who was that person that blocked that point and second? That was a godlike play. It actually won them the round.
Yeah, that was really nice from them. I mean, the second point was nearly capped up. That could have been fatal for that that little team backup attempt. But that really just does go to show you need to be checking those entrances when you're pushing out. You can't afford to leave anything up to luck at all, or that sort of thing will happen.
The thing is, they opted to have an engineer on last instead to watch the last point, but it was only a level 1 sentry gun, so it wasn't really like that much of a dangerous defense really to kind of threaten them away. But what a block for that second point there to win the round. That was a very nice play, and it's kind of getting a bit scrappy on this mid here. There's just a scout left, and unless he's going to go all beaving on us, I don't think he's going to walk away with this.
Yeah, Am and Hellblazer, you can see they're the first to respawn, which means they were the first to die. They went for their aggressive jumps once more, but it didn't quite work out for them. I think Rude Boys, they're finally adapting to that strategy. They're learning what's going to be coming. They know where to look into the sky, and they just managed to clean those players up. So they've got a possible attempt on this last point once again. Enzo with a full Uber. A second is being capped up now. It looks like T28 on that sniper. It's going to be up to him to see if he can get that hero headshot onto Enzo before they push in, possibly.
They should be walking through lower if they don't want to unnecessarily risk this, though.
Yeah, I think they are opting to do that right now. Copper in on the left already. He's got a lot of space. He's making a bit of a distraction as the Uber now. It comes in from lower. The sentry gun getting focused down to perfection. It's just the heavy now on the point. He's so weak, he will be taken down. That is the big defensive capability from them down. And there we go. Rude Boys with an almost textbook push on to last there with their full Uber charge. Taking this map 3-1. It's looking tricky for Flow now.
I feel like Flow don't understand the strengths of this map. They're not really rotating around. They're kind of dedicating the heavy a little bit too much to kind of fighting these unwinnable fights. I feel like you can be a lot more greedier with these heavies. They kind of fell into this trend onto Gully Wash as well, I think. So hopefully they can snap out of it.
Right, mid-fight number 5 right now. Hellblazer and Am doing their patented aggression. Once again, it's not actually working out for them at all. They're going to be completely cleaned up. But who's this? It's Overdose. He's sandwiching these players right now. He's all the way behind on second. Never mind, scratch that. It's DigiB. I've been lying to you this whole time. He's all the way into the lobby, but Overdose are coming in.
Very nice bomb. Oh!
Wow. The aggression from Rude Boys absolutely crushing there. They chased that all the way into second, and it has paid off for them. So many frags their way. DigiB, he's going to be picking up another one.
Not only that, but he also got a distraction, like some eyes drawn from these two players as well. They've got no ammo left for this initial fight. A nice little kind of somewhat bomb of AM coming in, but he's not going to be a tiding factor for this. It's going to be 4-1, and I think this game is over, Everex.
Yeah, there we go. 4-1 is the score. 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. So I think, I mean, unless we're going to be seeing some really, really, really fast rounds, this is going to be Rude Boys' map. We are sort of into that trash time right now. So there we go. Some stellar play from Rude Boys indeed. Absolutely turning that round for them, showing that they are definitely more comfortable on their map choice.
Yeah, they're just kind of playing out for frags right now, so it might get a little bit clowny in this last couple of minutes of TF2, but I mean, just going over the game so far, it felt like they had them figured out on the mids with regards to Hellblazer and AM. It was mostly Hellblazer. I think once they got Hellblazer controlled, like the mids wasn't too much to worry about in the end. But they had the opportunity, Flow. I feel like they had a strong start, but they just couldn't quite transition it to a solid lead.
Yeah, I feel like as well the last defenses and pushes were so much more well executed from Rude Boys. They clearly know their stuff on this map. That's for sure. We've seen that. I mean, they were just dealing with those defenses as they come in the right order, managing to just convert that. I mean, I think in terms of standout players, who do you think has really been, putting in the work and the effort for either team?
Overdose, Copper impressed me by with a little bit of sniper play. It felt like maybe he wasn't going on super massive sprees, but there were moments where he would kind of enter a mid or enter an entire point, and the team felt like they had to flock away from him, and you've kind of just done your job if you just kind of took like that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got those aggressive soldiers as well, DigiB and Overdose, that are completely happy to kind of capitalize off of that space, I think that sort of, sniper play is really going to be working out for you. Even if you don't hit your shots, just the threat of that sniper is enough to, buy you some points sometimes. But yeah, definitely well played by Copper. I mean, that crazy back cap as well. What was that? I don't think I've ever seen something like that, where he just kind of ran in through lower and just capped it up. I mean, no eyes turned at all.
Yeah,
interesting stuff.
Completely unheard of. I just didn't. I don't know. I can't remember the last time that's ever actually worked, really, in an official.
Yeah. I mean, there we go. 5-1. I mean, very strong indeed. Just absolutely turning it around. So yeah, there we go. I'm pleased with my boys. They managed to pull it out. Yeah, they won that one.
Yeah, big shout out to Overdose the Merc as well. I think he has been proven to be a very strong Merc for them, kind of making massive plays on his Roma.
I mean, props to, I'd say, Am as well. I think he's really had a good time playing that Roma class to perfection, getting those forces in, getting those distraction plays as well, although it hasn't really been working out in terms of that spy, syncing up that soldier bomb. It's it's a nice try anyway, and it's the sort of thing you want to be seeing. And if you keep doing those sorts of plays, well, even if one doesn't work out, the next one may, or the next one may, and that's at that point you have your opportunity to push.
I hope that this game kind of gives Enzo a bit more confidence to maybe be a bit ballsier with the Ubers, because I don't know, man, these sort of pops are not helping anybody, it feels like.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we've got some logs on screen right now, and look at the frags. Overdose, 28 for 12. Big old Overdose. It looks like Blue just completely on top of the scoreboard right there. Just absolutely dominant. Can you break these down a little bit? Can you see anything sort of worth pointing out as well?
Classy, a little bit of the unsung hero there, being the silent sweeper, where he's just cleaning up all the frags but not dying, and supporting his team out. You can see a little bit of disparity between the medics as well. Almost double amount of deaths over on George compared to Enzo. So whilst the Ubers are being popped and plentiful on Enzo, she isn't dying, however. So, I mean, I'd rather take that then, I suppose. But yeah, it just looks like everyone was having it was a real struggle for everybody on Fallout. Flowllout? It's a hard name.
Flowllout, I think that's it, yeah. Flowllout, sure. Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's just they're not comfortable in snake water whatsoever, or they're just not getting their goals set properly. Some people would just kind of hold close, some people would throw themselves in, some people were backing out. I don't think they've quite gone over what they want to accomplish or what modes they're setting themselves in on these snake waters and how they're reacting to like different parts of the game.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm looking at right now, T2A, he's played about 2.5 minutes of Sniper and done a very, very solid, very respectable 2 damage. So, he, maybe wasn't quite hitting those shots as he expected, but a Copper, nice 8 kills on that Sniper, so he really, really was doing well for his team. Just stellar play on Sniper for sure. I mean, Look at that overdose, 29% heals. Maybe he was. Maybe they switched their soldier roles around a little bit. Maybe he was playing that pocket role.
I think. Yeah. Oh, was he pocket last map? Oh wow. Okay. So I think they might have just swapped everybody around then. I guess traditionally, I think Diggy plays the pocket role, but just to accommodate overdose, and maybe his calling perhaps, because I think he is a strong caller. You've said. Overdose, so maybe to accommodate that they have put him on the pocket position, and Diggy's just decided to take up the roamer, and maybe he's just feeling himself a little bit better now that he's had a couple of games to kind of get into the flow, and everybody can maybe follow what Overdose has to say. But this is all just speculation, however. Keep this with a mighty pinch of salt, because again, they could just be following some other calling class right now in the game.
Well, no, that sounds like a good call to me. I think Overdose is one of the more experienced players on that team, and I think he definitely has some very strong calls from what I've played with him. So I think that's a very good decision to put him on that pocket soldier. And I mean, clearly, he was turning up. He was absolutely making a huge impact for his team. Look at that. The dominant mid fights actually from Blue, and that shows in the rounds as well. The one mid that Flow actually won. They won 2 mids, but they only won 1 round. So
there you go, man.
Yeah,
predicted with ease. It came down to those mids.
I did indeed.
Well, maybe not so much at the beginning. The beginning, it felt like, oh man, actually the mids look pretty good from Flow. But they analysed it. They kind of like realised that they just need to get on top of Hellraiser and just put a stop to him. And then from there, the mid fights are a lot easier for them. And from there, they were doing a good job. I want to see that actually some of the minute markers for these length of rounds. You can maybe discount some of the last rounds because those were the ones that they, by the time they were losing, because they already lost the game. So you see like the somewhat quick rounds where they won the mid out and kind of secured it there. Like you can see, for example, in the fourth one, I think was the major game clincher where you just feel like you kill any sort of comeback potential from the enemy team and kill all morale. And it was a little bit difficult on the road to actually get the mids back as well. It's quite thankful, actually. I think if it wasn't for that back cap play from Copper, I think it would have been a very close game.
I think, to be honest, you can kind of pick up a bit of a pattern from those mids, the mid stats there, in that look at the length of the first round compared to the subsequent ones. I mean, you've just got that kind of the slow back and forth kind of careful round for the first one, and then as soon as you're getting further into that game, maybe the teams, they're just kind of getting a bit more tired or not quite keeping their finger on the pulse as much, and they're just letting things through, and that is, that'll be getting to them in terms of the morale. I mean, they start to lose those quicker rounds after that.
Look, see, you can see that the stats are surprisingly even, but keep in mind
Hello, welcome back. We are back with you. I think our producer timed out for a moment there, but we are all back. So, TurboTabs, I hope your flow wasn't interrupted there. Maybe you can kind of pick up your train of thought.
Hello, can you hear me loud and clear, Gemm? Oh boy. All right. So I think the rough point I was just making before was basically you have to be careful with these stats because there was a lot of, I guess, air quotes, trash time in this game. On air quotes, and so it can kind of somewhat skew these sort of stats when it comes to point caps by zone or rough like amount of frags by zone as well. But you can maybe kind of lead into the fact if you, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you kind of, I guess, no, I've lost this word. But yeah, if you just kind of accommodate for the initial, I guess, trash time as well, you can see if the stats are quite even. It must have been one hell of a fight back from Rude Boy to, or it was one hell of a lead lost by Flow to Rude Boy to kind of throw this game away at the initial starts of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed earlier on one of the previous pages that Rude Boys had a massive sort of frag and damage advantage, but I mean, as you say, that could potentially just be down to the kind of the trash time at the end, where everyone was just kind of DMing each other, but I mean, if that is really a representation of the game, I think that is accurate.
Oh, I think it was just mainly the zone areas because there was a lot of capping involved as well, and that when there's a lot of capping in those last points of the trash time, it's I think those are the stats that suffer the most. So again, it's another long, I guess, like asterisk to add to the list of why logs shouldn't be looked at that closely. They should just kind of be like a kind of like an initial direction or point in the right direction to kind of follow some further analysis. But yeah, it is always fun to still watch though and see.
Yeah, I mean, the logs do give you like a good insight into kind of individual performance, I guess, as well as how teams play together.
Yeah, in a way. I know it's very difficult. It's very. I guess it's a very big issue in a way because sometimes like one number is the same as every other number. One frag might feel like a lot more than all these other frags, but not to logs.tf, man.
I mean, the one thing I'd really like to see, like, I wonder how difficult it would be to implement, but something like a force stat would be quite interesting because obviously
that'd be ridiculously hard to do.
I mean, possibly, yeah, but roamers often I feel get sort of undercredited for their performances.
But the roamers would need like some sort of their own little counter that they press.
Yeah, possibly. But well, right now we are live on our deciding map here of the mid grand final. This will be CP Badlands. We have Rudeboys on the block and Flow.
Rudeboys are going to take this. That's my prediction. Quick in. What's happening on mid?
Alright, well, Rudeboys going for the house rollout right now. They're very, very passive in their choke. It looks like they're just going to absorb the sort of jumping in soldiers from Flow, which they do. Hellblazer and Am, once again, going for that trusted mid of jumping in aggressively. But I think Rudeboys, they've just got that strat down where they just sort of play like a damage sponge, playing all the way back. And if your scouts aren't aggressing forwards, I mean, well, what can you do?
They were so injured on that mid, Eberex. I don't think you understand. If they just like committed on that mid off of damage alone, they would have took the fight. I think they would have possibly got a wipe, but they just kind of had like a string of health left and just acted strong, kind of stood still and made sure that the scoreboard looked as scary as possible compared to their two players that went down. So from there, they just played off the obvious choice. They went back off the player disadvantage.
Yeah, which is a smart choice. George obviously living now with his Uber, so we do come to Badlands last, a notoriously difficult point to push. So, I mean, if you were putting yourself in the shoes of these teams, what do you think they could pull out of the box to try and successfully convert a last push?
Well, I think it would come down to usually you can see a lot of like demoman like shenanigans with the quickie bomb launcher where you kind of just doing a point play. I mean, Badlands have kind of deterred it with the little, I guess, buff to the cap time defense, where it doesn't cap as quickly, but you can still make some point plays happen on Badlands, and it usually is the go-to method, so I'm kind of turning towards maybe seeing what, I don't know how to pronounce that demoman's name, is it Excella?
I want to say Cecil? Somebody said to me that's not quite right.
I'll take Cecil, but yeah, I can see us maybe having a Cecil go all the way back, kind of get a quickie bomb launcher going is like a nice little shout, but I mean everything can go off here. They can get a spy player going, they can get a sniper going. I think Badlands last is quite somewhat versatile.
Well, TurboTabs, I tell you what, a little while ago, whilst we were just doing this analysis, Copper did actually make a big play. He was running in behind the point as a spy, and he was basically going on a recon mission, finding all the info about the setup of Flow, so that could have been sort of useful information for them. The sentry was behind the point. I think that's the patent pending sheepy sentry, but it looks like Mars now moving this up to the top right to deal with any Uber that comes in to that door. Once again, Am going for that counter sack off of the copper pick. Not quite successful though. Cecil will be taking him down.
Go for the sniper, which I can see paying off quite well. Although, actually, George is incredibly defensive in this positioning. He's not even standing out. You can maybe even think about just like pressuring them from just lack of heals.
But I mean, even maybe a sniper or demoman pick might work out for them. If they can clear those stickies or clear the energy, in fact, which is actually what happens. Mars, just poking out of that door, will be taken down by Copper. And Copper with a headshot onto 2TA as well. That is big. 2 picks for rudeboys. They should be able to take this push as it comes, TurboTabs.
There's no way he can get another pick off the top of all this. Actually, he might get the heavy pick. Oh, he's making it difficult for them, and they will pop off the Uber now, and they will get a kill with the sentry gun, however, before it gets taken down. It will kind of deter them from going for this last push, but they've put Diggy in a horrible spot, and he has to kind of die for his team there to kind of force their hand to go out, and they're just going to have to go back to the drawing board. But there's not many times where Copper's going to get many picks like that.
No, that was nice from him, but I think the Uber from rudeboys was just a bit fundamentally flawed. Then they took it in through main, but big head shoot.
Yeah, it was a nice one as well. It wasn't even he was waiting on the doorway. It was kind of like a soldier is came in from a different doorway. He had to do a lot of like mouse scrolling there to find that kill.
Yeah. Well, Copper with the big play is interrupting me as usual. No change there. Yeah. Yeah, he is just poking into main right now. Can't quite connect on the scout.
Scout's so cheeky. After all that's just been done by Copper, he's like, you know, I still want to test the water.
He's testing his luck a bit there, isn't he? Never know. Copper has been showing that he's definitely showing a bit of prowess on that sniper for sure.
He's the big bad wolf right now. Everybody's terrified.
Yeah, he's just poking. He's going for those long, slow peaks from those barrels. It's good damage onto the heavy, but that's not going to be quite enough to take him down.
I think it's almost impossible for him to get that heavy pick, really, just by the way the heavy's positioned. You can't see the head at all before the heavy can see you. And look, wow, AM found his way in and got the easiest kill onto the sniper of his life, but they can't really turn it into anything because they've just lost too many picks in the meantime.
Yeah, unfortunately, DigiB currently running that Cow Mangler. Is this Overdose? No, it's DigiB. Okay. Yeah, DigiB running that Cow Mangler, which means that the sentry there at the top right, which would normally be easy pickings for a soldier to spam, especially if you've got sort of a 2 players down situation, that's not going to be working out for him at all.
Actually, he's going for the long charge shot. Does that disable the sentry gun for a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of seconds it's disabled from, but you really want to be doing that if you've got some maybe demo spam or soldier spam coming into it.
Oh!
Because it's not going to be meaning much otherwise.
There's a spy on the field for a brief moment there, but kind of just took the Copper kill. I mean, he wasn't a sniper, and he is a bit of a pest, but... Oh, they got the spam onto the sentry gun. That's very good. They can maybe even think about going in for some little bomb there, because they did have two TA down bubble. And nope, Diggy B gets the pick onto Mars, but AM will respond onto Overdose, who's kind of spamming out from the choke area. I don't think they know where AM is right now. Oh wait, they have found him actually, and yeah, they will clean him up.
Yeah, this is looking possibly a bit rough for Flow right now. They are 2 down, including the NG, so maybe rudeboys could be looking to take some ground off that. I don't think there will be. DigiB with a pick onto T2, T2A, T2.
They can definitely do this. They've got 2 picks and they've got like the cookie cutter lineup. They can definitely make this push in.
They do. They're going for it right now. The Uber, after a little bit of a delay, coming in from top right. The point being played by Copper as well, so that's the distraction that's going to bring all of the combo onto the ground. If the soldiers from rudeboys can just play this high ground now, spam them out, I think they're going to have a really, really good time. The point is so nearly capped. Just a tiny, tiny mistake from them. And that will be curtains, but there we go. The frags just being cleaned up in the end. It's just that scout of T2A left. As there we go, after a few failed attempts, it finally pays off for rudeboys, bringing that to 1-0.
Way too many people dropping down for that point there. I think everybody had a little part in that point on the side of blue. And with everybody falling down there, it was kind of easy pickings for these scouts. They could have played maybe the point a bit more, in my opinion, but they all decided what they're doing, and it was somewhat synced up. I mean, the Devilman had the right idea as well, sticking up the point and letting his scout somewhat fight around the point as well. So very well played from the rudeboys. They will get the first round on the board, and we are going into our second mid fight of the game. And this time, there's not so much live players on the side of rudeboy. I say this, there's quite actually a few 5 HP warriors wandering about, but this time they're actually deciding to stay on the mid point on the side of Flow, and they will hold on to this. They won't let any low players kind of bluff their way this time. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, as they're trying to just spam out this last scout. Copper can't quite get in on them, and they will back out eventually, EverX.
Yeah, I have to say that was a really nice mid from the blue demo man, Little Red Riding Hood there. He just, he had his health, he had his damage. He was just walking across that point, making so much space for the rest of his team to clean up on, so that was really nice from him. It also looked like for a while Rude Boys were going to come in to contest with their respawners, but I think they just wussed out of that one a little bit. Big pipe from a Cecil takes down that capping scout. That may be slowing down this point for them a little bit, but Mars now just running up to help out with that. But we do see a sort of even Uber situation once again on this last point. Bit of a forward trap from a Cecil on the shutters. I don't think it's going to be getting anything though, as the medic of Flow will be opting to just climb that spire, enter lobby through the top, nice and safe. No risks taken.
You notice the sheer amount of engineers on this top right hand side now. It feels like everybody's running this sentry gun on the top right hand side now, thanks to 7.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it used to be most commonly placed on the left side, but obviously now the right, there's something favourable about that. But Enzo, look at this behind the point, a big bomb from Am forces her off, and Little Red Riding Hood will be falling as well, so 2 picks that could possibly be an opening for something from Rude Boys, but they do have to be careful. It's so easy to get back capped on this map.
Yeah, I think the sentry gun is maybe a little bit too much to the left-hand side, and it didn't quite cover the initial jump in from the soldier that kind of forced out Enzo there. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was still around this sentry spot for, you know, in quite a few years of TF2, but it just feels like it's the default spot now, the default defense for this Badlands Last.
I mean, I can see the sort of advantage of it is that you defend from those kind of Ubers from top right, but I really feel like, you know, that isn't the kind of the standard like way of doing it, you know, especially with an even trade. But right now the Uber came in from the top left, but not a lot to come from it. Frags are now falling in after the Uber, and Enzo on the low ground, very, very weak. They're kind of blobbing up on this point. They're just going for this last-ditch attempt. DGB in that tube. And a Cecil, the last warriors left alive, but I think they've done this. They've defended it. Wow.
Where are the rest of them? Oh, they're just respawners. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That was so close though. 3 HP.
Yeah, big defense from them. I mean, Enzo did fall. She had to kind of drop down to that point to help out the defending players. So George does have another Uber advantage. So this could be, you know, once again, a second attempt onto the last.
Oh, Copper is found his way into the, I guess the Grey Bridge area on Spy, but he was spotted out by, I think it was Am. So with a player down, it's going to be, I think, a tough defense for Rude Boys. They've got an Uber advantage to deal with as well. They're popping in the scout, that's not probably the best idea against a sentry gun that's been there like every single time now. They do eventually kill it out, but they haven't really focused any of the other targets. A lot of point pressure though. Look at all those players on the point. Oh, George will even get a bonus kill onto the Pyro as well, but they've lost so many players.
Little Red Riding Hood, he picks up 3 with pipes. That's insane. It's just Copper left on the point and they clean him up. What is that? That's just huge. So much damage, so many kills. Just jumping in at the end. Big heads up plays from him. Little Red Riding Hood in the hood. The demo man. Excellent stuff.
Yeah, massive turnaround there. I already kind of excused this. I was like, yep, okay, they defended this, well done by them. And then as soon as I turn my camera away, I just see a massive amount of pipe kills appear up in the kill feed.
Yeah, well here we go. The third mid-fight in this map, Overdose. He's taking a lot of space on this slope. He's jumping forward. Managed to pick up a kill onto Am, and actually the player advantage so huge for Rude Boys. They're just cleaning up this last soldier under the point as George and Little Red Riding Hood will be running away from that fight. A 1 mid for Rude Boys as they're looking to take this straight forward onto second.
Yep, 3 second for them. I mean, the only silver lining we have over on the side of Flow is that George kept himself alive, so they will have an Uber for this last defense. And they're not building a sentry gun, however, for this last defense. And there we go, Mars is wised up now and will begin construction work.
Hellblazer already, he's aware that Copper might be on that spy. He's just checking around, shooting the corners, making sure no shenanigans can get underway.
Actually, Mars has built it on the left-hand side, keeping this last defense fresh. I guess the advantage here is maybe a bit of a surprise factor as well, in case they want to just do a random little play into the left-hand side. But the thing is, they've spotted their sentry gun, and you can see why it isn't favoured on the left-hand side too much as well. It's a very susceptible spot to the spam of this like base of the stairs.
I mean, the thing is, if you've got a soldier that's going quite aggressive into main to spam that out, I mean, he is susceptible to either that sniper in the spawn or possibly a soldier going aggressive onto him, so I mean that could be a potential sort of counter to that spam. But rudeboys right now, they've walked in through this lower left, they've got their Uber, they've taken this into the point. Overdose jumping up onto the ring, but he gets a little bit caught out there as the counter Uber comes in now from George. But this is quite smart from the rudeboys players, they're just chilling around on this high ground. Copper now, he's trying to go in for something, but it's just not quite worked out for them. Uber was just a bit better for Flow, and Cecil, he's in a lot of trouble right now. This scout is chasing. Can he pick up the frag? He's going for it. He gets the sword kill. Big frag onto a Cecil there from T2A.
Man, I think that last point would have been theirs as well if they just respected the heavy just a little bit. It's always a bit, I guess, deceptive how much damage the heavy weapons guy can put out at that close range, because you feel like you can definitely just fight it and, you know, outplay this heavy. But I think it's just way too risky. You have to be extremely calculated, I think, if you want to take out a heavy weapons guy like that.
Yeah, I think if you're going to go for that push in from the bottom left, you really got to play your high ground carefully, because you want to be bringing... Gone.
Can't bum rush the fat man, that's all I want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got to be bringing Flow down to the point somehow, and then you just use the rest of your Uber to absolutely crush them. Just take that sort of slow fight up top, but they didn't quite do that perfectly. Overdose looked like he wanted to try and go for a bit of a sack there. He's choosing to back out right now. So, rudeboys, they're still in the driving seat of this round. They've got the opportunities they could be using. On this sniper being one of them.
We might get a pick onto this room, but oh, he's very low. Can't quite find him though. We've all got the crossbow, so it's like it never even happened.
Hey, he's just completely peeking for free now. I don't think he's being spammed out at all. But what is this? The solo Uber up into top lobby from Flow. This could be risky for them. But I think the players from rudeboys, they're just not quite in a position to flank or do anything kind of hairy there. So that was a nice try from Flow to try and go for that solo. It didn't quite work out for them enough.
This is an opportunity for Copper. You could definitely get a pick here, I can see. I mean, because they just don't have that heavy weapons guy to really pressure him out like they did before. Sadly, he's missing some of these shots when it really comes down to it though.
Yeah, he's had a lot of time on this sniper so far. I mean, he's had a few nice kills, but that was a bit earlier on into the game. So, I mean, Flow definitely showing that they're happy to take different approaches to pushing out, but maybe that's just not quite the right one for them, that sort of solo into lobby.
I wonder if they've been keeping track that they've got the slight Uber advantage during all that, because they did pop first over on the side of George, so they should just assume that he has Uber first. But they ended up building just a little bit more efficiently on the side of rudeboys, so I mean, it's just one of those, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda moments. If only I knew that you had that such an advantage.
But I mean, realistically speaking, what are you going to do with that Uber advantage? I mean, are you really going to be able to get onto Enzo before she has hers?
Well, you can always try. I think it's definitely possible, and if it doesn't work out, you just kind of make the gap bigger, basically, for the next kind of efficient building session.
Once more, he pulls it out of the bag. He's just so consistent. He forces off Enzo once again in that top lobby. So this now is the opportunity that Flow want. They've got that full advantage. They're just going to be slowly, piece by piece, clearing this lobby, taking it forward. So the respawners are up.
Copper's on last, and the sticky's on point. He's fighting up against a soldier, but
no, it's not enough. He will be taken down.
Yeah, it looks like they will get second. Well, I don't know why they're getting second though. There's like so many bodies over on there. There we go. Finally, Overdose will man up and get the stand on the point. Wow, he's taking everybody out. He's got a shopping list. He wants the Terrorman next.
He gets it. Well, TGB with a little assistance there. Big frags from rudeboys, just completely shutting down that push out of last. So that is the risk if you go for those sort of even player pushes. And the force as well, George, just on that low ground positioning. This is looking so terrible for Flow. Rudeboys have just an absolutely monumental Uber now. The point being played. These players just being absolutely cleaned up right now.
Nobody's standing on the point!
Don't worry, Overdose is on it. He's got that covered.
It looks so strange. Like, okay, well, they stood on it at that point, but because Low Red Riding Hood was down, the point was in a very peculiar spot where Flow wanted to defend it, but they can't stand on it, and the Ubers were kind of just rubbing against each other because they just couldn't commit either way on both of these teams. It was very funny to watch, but they will eventually win out that round, so still the lead for Rude Boy.
I'm watching Am this mid. He's not quite going for his patented aggressive jump, but actually the positioning from Rude Boy is just a little bit better. Overdose and Flow having a really low HP 1v1. He will win that, not Flow, excuse me, Hellblazer, but 2TA cleans that one up in the end. So it's just Am who went behind all the way around at mid. He is cleaned up in the end by Classy. There we go.
Overdose doing a nice, well, wasn't really a nice bomb at first, but the fact that he kind of finessed it out and elongated the fight for so long, it bought them so much time and room for the rest of his Rude Boy compadres to kind of find a nice little nooks in their positionings on that midpoint to kind of support him, as well as just you know, keep it well defended for the mid cap.
It looked like Flow wanted to try and contest that Spire there for a moment. They were just poking out into trash. But in the end, with Hellblazer going down in drop down, they are deciding to back out. And now Rude Boys, they're looking comfortable. About 10 minutes left. They've got that round advantage if they really wanted to. If they wanted to drag this out, they could just go for some absolute low-risk plays, just sort of single sacks or spy plays, sniper, things like that, to try and just get that all-important medic pick onto George. But they really don't have to give away anything here. They can just sit in this lobby for days and they'll be comfortable.
Yeah, not opting to run an engineer, it seems, on this last point. Maybe they're worried that if they start building a sentry gun, that Rude Boys are going to pick up and then just push in immediately. But I feel like they can afford to be a little bit greedy here. Oh, actually, I see a conch slapped out by Hellblazer. He wants to get some spam going and get some damage in. And they will actually Uber out instead, and they will force the Uber on their terms. I mean, it's kind of nice in a way, but it depends on whether or not George can get out. He will get out from lower, and there's no real trap set for him, so they just accept this in, and now it's time for the re-push with the conch. They've got this going, and they're trying to just scale forward now. The soldier doesn't even have the ammo reloaded for the initial push in now. Overdose will be overrun, and Diggy is just trying to find his way to kind of delay this point without actually having to stand on it, and he's doing a pretty decent job of it, though. They will slowly cap it out, and they're kind of just throwing copper on there, but he will just kind of die, and this buys a little bit of time for them, but they've lost so many casualties just kind of throwing bodies onto the point that they will kind of lose it immediately as well. And during all that, George died for Flow.
Yeah, that was really nice from DigiB actually. He bought enough time by kind of delaying that Spire for the respawners of Rude Boys to come in and help him out. And he kind of had a bit of an elongated fight with George, but did eventually manage to take him down in the trash area. So a big Uber charge advantage for Enzo. I think Rude Boys, they're going to be looking to try and take this into the top left straight away, but Copper just eats that pipe. So unfortunate. He will be going down. Classy with a nice chase into spawn, takes down George. So no heals whatsoever for Flow. Bit of a 3v3 fight. If Rude Boys can just play this out carefully, they might be able to do it, but I think they're just a bit split up, a bit separated. And Cecil is this last player left standing in lobby. Good try, good attempt, my men, but no cigar.
Yeah, it's a real shame when you get a massive pick like that, but you know, in those moments where you feel like everything's going your way, you need to push the advantage, but really that moment kind of called for things to slow down there. If they just slowed it down, played off their medic a little bit more, just kind of keep everybody alive and safe, and just re-push with some heals, get everybody like nice and healed up, maybe just pressure them slightly with one buff player, I feel like that would have gone a lot better for them.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing I think both of these teams are doing. They're kind of each player thinks of themselves more as an individual. They think they can bite off more than they can actually chew, and they kind of take these split up, messy fights. They're not really playing together as well as I'd like them to. If they can kind of just get that coordination down, maybe they'll be able to convert these pushes. But look at that, the crits from Hellblazer in top lobby takes down Enzo and Copper straight away. Big frags for them. T2A was going to follow up with a nice one onto Overdose. He's pushing forward, he's onto the Cecil. Ooh. Big back cap attempt blocked there, but so many frags for Flow. This should be a trivial push out onto second for them. And actually George as well, he's swapping off onto that Medigun. He picked up the fallen Medigun of Enzo, so that's nice from him. He will be on that Uber now, not crits. Maybe that's going to catch Rude Boys out. They won't quite know that he swapped.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that feature is in the game. I mean, I remember one time where everybody was just absolutely panicking about that feature coming in, but since the little nerfs to it, it's kind of been left to the forgotten wayside. So the only, it will be a tremendous advantage to them. I feel like it's the only thing that can do, because if it's surprising me, I feel like it has to be surprising these players.
I mean, Rude Boys right now, they're going to believe that Flow are on crits, and they may just give them a bit more space, but DigiB, he's jumping forward onto the point. Classy will pick up another frag as well, so 2 for 2 trading, but the back cap right now onto mid from Copper. Little Red Riding Hood will be the one to come back and block this. It's a bit of a 1v1 right now. He's so weak, he will be pulling back the heals as well.
Wow.
So that, he will be living.
Amazing.
For this Spire, not quite realising that mid isn't capped up. But that will be defending their second.
Oh my god,
them.
he could actually go for Spire now, because they're capping out mid. If he just stayed on the Spire, I think he would have got some very devilish, like, incredibly cheeky cap time on it, but the way they position now, they don't even know where Copper is, and he's going to get the flank onto Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, what a pick coming out from Copper. He's like the mid-start.
He is indeed. He found his way all the way behind, managed to get a nice attempt onto the medic as well, but not quite enough, as the bombs now in from Rude Boys will force off the Uber from George so early. But look at this, the amazing milk from Enzo will be meaning that the Rude Boys Uber is completely on their terms. However, they have lost 3 players in amongst that, and Enzo in a bit of trouble. Just split up from the rest of their team, as Cecil kind of jumping forward aggressively onto that Spire. Just unfortunately disconnected, as the frags are just absolutely going the way of Flow. They're cleaning these straggling players up really well, and they will be capping up mid once again.
I think they just, I don't know, I feel like they got a nice force off, and it was like that would have been a perfect moment for when Enzo to come in and kind of use the counter Uber, but it just felt like it came a little late. I think they just were maybe a little bit surprised, or they just didn't know that that was a good opportunity to kind of go for the counter Uber, maybe wanted to milk it a bit more, or maybe they weren't aware that that George actually popped off his Uber during that. But yeah, everything got incredibly all over the place and fragmented. Some people were kind of going for plays on the flank when really they needed to report back to Enzo as soon as possible. I think it's just a scenario that the team isn't used to being in.
Yeah, I mean, possibly that is the case. Like, just maybe another example of just not quite that coordination working out for them. They just need to play a little bit tighter together. But the Uber now, the advantage push coming in from lower left. Flow just all over this point right now, but they've kind of gone for it too early. They've lost 5 players straight away. It's just T2A living in this top lobby. So I'd really like to have just seen them play that high ground a little bit better, not quite go for that point so early, and I think that may have worked out better for them.
Yeah, just playing the point a little too hard there, not taking out any players or addressing any of the defences. It's a little bit almost rude, I guess you could say, of expecting that they'll just give it away like that over on the side of Rude Boys, but they will, however, get the second push out, and they were forced to use their Uber, so this does make this Kritzkrieg over on George now just a little bit more scary. Now that Uber's been taken out of the equation, but they've lost so many players for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Well, let me try and break that down for you a little bit there. So as the Uber was forced out of Enzo on the Grey Bridge, Rude Boys were looking so split up and just all in completely different positions. They managed to just get it together in the end. They picked off the 2 players on the flank, and that gave them that huge
it's a
player advantage.
Kritzkrieg. Oh well, then that's why we don't Kritzkrieg a scout.
That's exactly right. A big failure from them. Not quite. Big air shot from Overdose. Takes down Hellblazer. And he picks another one up onto T2A. Just Little Red Riding Hood on that flank. A little bit alone. So this now looking so good for Rudeboys. They've got 1 minute and 30 left. They're all the way into Flow's last already. And they convert this one.
Oh wow, even Am did go for like a clever play where he was going to block the second point while they were making a massive bum rush for last, but he still lost out the MGE fight against the Scat on the second point, and Rude Boys were allowed to kind of ransack that last defense. But yeah, I guess that's just if they just kind of delayed things and just waited for a soldier, any sort of explosive cast, you know, just not play it greedy with the Scout. I feel like they could have actually held that one off.
Well, there we go. I think if you listen very carefully, you will hear a fat lady currently singing, because with 40 seconds left, it is absolutely not possible to win those 2 rounds. So I believe right now, Rude Boys on the block are your ETF2L Season 27 mid-champions, everybody. There we go.
We know the true victory here, Everex, is I got 3 for 3 analysis.
You did indeed, yeah. Your predictions were definitely on point. I mean, I suppose you could say my predictions were on point in terms of the fact that I was rooting for the Rude Boys, you know, and they won it in the end. Never mind.
Yeah. The best cheerleader.
Yeah. Well, there we go. I think the trash time is now over. That will be 3-1 on Badlands, so I'm not entirely sure who decided on that last map, but I mean, it clearly played into Rude Boys' favour so well.
It was just the remaining map from the bands, so it was both of the teams really coming down to picking that Badlands map. Yeah,
I mean, definitely, Rude Boys, they beat this team in week 1, and they've done it again. Well, not quite 7, but in the playoffs.
I mean,
bit of a symmetrical season for them, I suppose, starting out and ending it with the same team. I like that.
I mean, to give credit to Flow, though, it was much closer than their initial scoreline from that week 1 game, so they've clearly made some strides and have made some improvements to the team, and they should be proud of that. But, you know, I guess it just wasn't enough. And then keep in mind as well, Rude Boy doesn't stay stagnant through that week 1 as well. They're going to be improving throughout the season as well, so I guess it is a well done and a well played game from Rude Boy. I did feel like it was a well-deserved victory to them.
Yeah, definitely. They were playing that extremely well. Let's quickly break down these logs here before potentially, I don't know if some people want to come and be interviewed. You're welcome to come along, guys. Come give us your thoughts on that game. But until that happens, let's have a look at these logs.
I feel like the big deciding factor was the clash of Demomen tonight. I feel like the presence from the Assessor on these last points was a lot more felt compared to Little Red Riding Hoods. I mean, he did have some pretty clutch moments where he would get like 3 pipes out of nowhere, but that was just one instance. I feel like Assessor was the one that was making the right calls or the right plays on these last points that kind of made these rounds happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's showing as well. Definitely 6 deaths on Badlands as Demo Man. You're going to be showing your presence for sure if you're, you know, dying that little. I mean, fairly even medic deaths as well, 6 each. So I think possibly just that superior damage, superior DM from DGB, Overdose, and Assessor showing through in the end. I mean, Copper not having such a stellar game on Sniper. He definitely did get a few really nice headshots off. But by the looks of these logs, only 3 kills. So, you know, not too many. But I suppose it was a fairly stalematey game on last.
It can be
frustrating.
It can be frustrating as a sniper. It can be extremely claustrophobic for the sniper to kind of get some of these picks that they want to go on, and sometimes some snipers don't like that sort of play. They need like plenty of space, and I feel like when Copper was provided that space on like maps like Snakewater, for example, I think he did a lot better than compared to just trying to go for these incredible like around the corner shots where he gets like one opportunity to get like a nice body shot or somewhere.
Yeah, I have to say apologies to Asekel. Asekel, yeah, we're being scorned in chat right now. Oh dear, we'll have to edit through the VOD and change all those pronunciations.
I trusted you, Everex. We just need to do like one of those I guess, ad libs in a way, where you just every now and then it'll be like, and here we've got a Cecil.
A Seckle.
Or a Seckle.
Come on, you got to get it right once we fixed it. Oh dear.
No, that's just another one for the ad lib.
Oh, I see. All right.
Anyway, should wrap it up. I'm getting all the professionalities falling out at the seams here. My goal.
Right. Well, before we do wrap up, I'm seeing some gamers in the Interview Me channel right now. I'm just gonna drag these guys in. We have Classy from Rudeboys. We have George from Flow, and we have Hellblazer as well from Flow. So let me just unmute you guys. Hello, how's it going?
Hey.
All good. Hello.
Yeah, it's all good.
Epic. Well, Classy, I guess as the representative from the winning team, how are you feeling after your well-deserved victory?
Feeling great. Very excited about winning mid.
Yeah, definitely.
Something I dreamed about ever since I was a young pub player.
All right. I mean, were you feeling? Can you sort of speak for your team here? Were you feeling, comfortable going to this game? Do you think it was going to turn out this way, or were you a little bit worried? Did you think that Flo was going to give you a good time, good match?
I think on Gollywash we definitely thought that we were going to lose. We didn't, because we had like been scrimming it and we had just been like doing a bunch of mistakes on it. Like our sort of timings were really awful, and we sort of didn't really have any idea what to do on it, at least on pushes. So we really struggled on that, and we sort of expected it to be a worse map. That's why we sort of wanted to pick it first, to like have it be done already, so we could go on to the other maps basically.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely turned it around on the other two maps. That's for sure. You came out a lot stronger. So I mean, commiserations as well to our second place team, Hellblazer and George. How did you feel that that game went for you?
I'll start off Hellblazer. We were quite pumped after the first victory in Gully Wash, but after Snake Water we were a bit like demotivated. But it was fun, and congrats to the other team.
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty confident after Gully Wash, and during our Snake Water game we decided to just try different things out the first round, and it didn't work out, and we couldn't really come back afterwards. And yeah, they just kept on punishing us from our place. They played pretty good, so it was a pretty good game.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. TurboTabs, do you have any sort of analysis questions you want to
analysis
ask?
questions? I guess I could direct this one to Flowllout. So, what do you think? What do you guys, in your opinion, thought was your biggest mistakes tonight? What would you, if you could go back and change something? What would you change?
I would say teamwork. Like, we struggle a lot with that. Some players believe we're backing out and they play too passive. Other ones just throw themselves into the battle, and we're not coordinating enough.
I guess to kind of mirror this question, Classy, what do you think was the thing that won the game or the match for you tonight? What was the thing that was going right for you?
Like, I'm not really sure, because like I felt like both teams sort of played very like shook, very like on edge. Like, I know on Golly or on Snake, and so like popped very prematurely a bunch of times. But I think what won us was mostly like, I guess we didn't really like tilt that easily. I think it's sort of what makes us win most games, because I know many teams I've been on have like started tilting and like sort of crumbling after losing the first round on any map. But I think we sort of just stayed composed, like during the whole match. That's why we sort of just shrugged off Gollywash. We didn't really take it too hard.
No, I felt like the maps this evening played a lot into both of these teams. I felt like the maps really dictated whether or not a team felt comfortable at all, or whether they're going to almost downright take the map, or at least the match for the entire game. But the Badlands, though, how did both of these teams feel about this Badlands as the deciding map? Was anyone uncomfortable with this? Let's start with Classy. What did you think of the Badlands decider?
I was actually like, I felt like it could have just been like a toss-up, honestly, because we played the Badlands against Flowllout in week 1, and it was a really close game, actually, like 1-1 with a golden cap to us. So I was really like worried about it going like us going down a round and then sitting for a really long stalemate. That's all the worst possible outcome in my mind. But even if there was a pretty long stalemate, I'm pretty glad that we sort of managed to tilt it in our favor.
George, how was Blazer? Tell me about this Badlands map. Did you think it was a good map or a bad map to go into?
We were pretty confident to start off with. I mean, we did expect it to be the third map, but we did have a strategy. We practiced a lot on it, and we were pretty confident going into it.
So it was quite the surprise, then I suppose. Was it the map at all, or do you think was there any? If you could go back and change your map picks, maybe would there be anything you would change now?
Yeah, sea water.
All right, fair.
I guess they say that hindsight has 20/20 vision, doesn't it? But I guess, what do you think the future holds for both of your teams now? I mean, will you be looking towards high for next season? Will you be staying together, or are you guys going to kind of, break apart and try and make some new teams?
I can answer that. Well, like, our team, we're probably set on sort of splitting up. It's mostly not because like people are unhappy about like results or anything. It's more about sort of playstyle differences and people wanting to sort of play the game differently. And that's sort of why we sort of had like we sort of went over that like maybe 2 weeks or something before this match. So that's why I guess people were a bit unsure about winning this, because we thought maybe the team morale would not be like 100%, but we still managed to sort of get the win.
Yeah, what about the Flow guys then?
We're gonna stick together. We're gonna try short and high.
Nice. Well, best of luck to you. I hope it goes well in your future endeavors. But
Thank you very much.
I think with that, we will be wrapping up the very, very, very last game of Season 27. We've had all of our other grand finals in the other divisions. This is the absolute last one. So there we go. This is it. It's been a fun ride. Been a good time, but it has come to an end. So I'm gonna throw this to some shout outs. We'll go in the order of Mumble, I suppose. So Hellblazer, got anyone you wanna shout out?
I'd like to shout out CJ and Clint and my teammates.
Very good, George.
Well, I would like to shout out first and foremost Demos. He was smack talking with us for like 3 or 4 hours the other day, and it really helped a lot. So thanks to you, man. And then, yeah, the team in general, it's been a lot of fun since I joined it. Really friendly and just nice to play with each other. And to you guys for casting it. It's really nice to be casted for the first time.
Yeah, cool. All right, Classy?
I guess I have sort of 2 people I would want to shout out. Well, not really, no, not 2 people, but I would like to sort of shout out the, I guess, past members of the Rude Boys squad. One's namely Twisty, who was our roamer for basically like 5 weeks. I think he was sort of a factor to us doing so well in the season as well. And then my last shout out would be Falcon Gamer 520, a boy from Panama I met on the pub server. And he was really excited about us winning this game tonight.
Nice, all right, good stuff. Well, I mean, I think TurboTabs, I'm going to give the honor of signing this one off all to you. You can take the glory, take it away.
Oh boy, I guess I'll have a quick squeeze of a shout out to Gemm just before we start throwing all our plugs at the screen. So a big shout out to Gemm for not only bringing you the pictures and the sound tonight, but he also did a little bit of organising and kind of brought the band together, so a big shout out to Gemm. He's clearly the big package. But no shout outs, FRX, no nothing, no special someone?
I mean, I guess Gemm as well. Great guy. Eames, he can have a shout out. There we go.
Alright, cool. Alright, that's it. If you just joined us, that was our coverage of Flowllout. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Flowllout versus Rude Boys on the block, and Rude Boys have won it spoiler alert, congratulations to the Rude Boys, and it was a very well played by Flowllout. However, it went to the final third map of the evening. That was Gullywash, Snakewater, Badlands. I've been TurboTabs. Joining me was EverX. Gemm was on our production, and I want a big thank you to Hellblazer, George, and Classy for joining us on the interviews. If you want to find us on YouTube, teamfortress.tv. If you want to find us on the internet, www.teamfortress.tv. Facebook, teamfortress.tv. And you can probably take a guess what the twist is going to be. So that's everything. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.